well, she's not really a princess anymore. She died. I understand, but I don't know if we should put the flag at half-mast. That's the whole movie!
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
This episode of the SinCast is brought to you by NatureBox. Go to naturebox.com/SinCast to get 50% off your first order. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
What?
And from Music Videos Ins, Bear Share.
Hola!
And today we're going to be talking more Oscar stuff.
There are days that define your story beyond your life. Like the day they arrived.
He's the key to Bin Laden.
I don't fucking care about Bin Laden. I care about the next attack.
My work here is finished. See y'all on the dark side of the moon.
You don't have a better bad idea than this?
This is the best bad idea we have, sir. By far.
I didn't preen myself on the cover of Time magazine with a face full of phony humility. And I have.
Should have seen him in the old days when he was a real activist.
You were the activist. I just wanted to get laid.
If anybody orders Merlot, I'm leaving. I am not drinking any fucking Merlot.
We're going to be talking about not only Oscar snubs, which we detailed a little bit back in episode 8, I believe.
Yep. Wow.
That was a long time ago. That was probably like 2016 or something.
It was almost 1 year ago.
Yeah. And we're also going to be talking about they didn't win.
Yeah.
When they were nominated. So some fun Oscar discussion here. The Oscars just recently came out. By the time this comes out, it'll have been 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have one right off the bat, right?
Yeah. I think it's criminal that Amy Adams didn't get nominated this year. We all saw Arrival together, and one of the things that we were talking about almost immediately as we were coming out was how great her performance is. So with this movie, Arrival, it's a great story. It's a great conceit. It's very well constructed. But it needs a soul. And in fact, Denis Villeneuve came out and actually issued a statement about her snub, about how she was the soul of the movie. Mm-hmm. And it's 100% accurate. How can you make linguistics interesting?
Yeah.
And in a sci-fi movie, no less, you know? And she carries this movie. Everything else about it is very, very good. But it's her movie. And
I don't mean to bag on Meryl Streep or anything.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
But come on. Every single time she's in a movie, they could deem that Oscar worthy.
Yeah.
And
it's not like Daniel Day-Lewis, where if he does a movie every 9 years, chances are it's going to be pretty fucking amazing.
Right.
Like she'll come out with a Woody Allen schedule.
It's almost gotten to the point now where I feel like the Academy is like, well, we would be remiss not to nominate Meryl Streep every time because I understand everybody looks up to her and rightfully so. Yeah. She's very, very good, but great. I don't know why very good, but every movie she's in, anytime she's in one, she's going to be nominated.
Yeah.
And I was looking at this the other day. Her career basically spans now 40 years because late 70s is when she first started appearing in movies. Deer Hunter, she was a supporting actress in that. 40 years, 17 nominations.
Jesus.
That's nearly half the time.
I was watching The River Wild the other day because it was on, and I was like, she probably got nominated for this.
Yeah.
Robbing Kevin Bacon of his award for his role in the film. Well, in this movie in particular, it's yes, it takes a great performance, and I think she's good in it, but this is a really light movie. This is a really popcorny, casual.
You're talking about Florence Foster Jenkins?
Yes, and I didn't say the title because I had forgotten it, because that's how forgettable that movie was. It's just I feel really bad for Amy Adams, and because this is maybe the most I've ever thought she deserved a nomination, and she didn't get it.
Now, to be honest, Amy Adams has been nominated 5 times. Mm-hmm. It goes to show, really the category itself, they find themselves having a hard time finding new blood to nominate a lot of times. Not to say that she wasn't deserving in any of those situations, but geez, it's just required Meryl Streep nominations, and it just gets to the point now where she's she's like the team in the NCAA tournament that has the automatic bid.
Yeah.
You know, they're just taking up spaces, you know.
Well, it's like that Family Guy episode where Brian's nominated for an adult video thing, and they do best score, and it's like, you know, pervert number 1, pervert number 2, and John Williams. And it cuts to John Williams like doing, you know, crossing his fingers.
Excuse me, 20 nominations.
Oh my God.
So half the time that she's been an actress, she has been nominated.
Basically saying every year is a 50-50 shot she's going to get a nomination.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, and you're not far off though from your River Wild thing. Like, I mean, you look at it and you're like, oh, she probably was. I mean, that's the way this sort of game works.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not saying that she's not deserving of all the praise. I'm just saying that she's taking up spots a lot of times just because she's in a movie and it's bothersome.
It's like, oh, you haven't seen The Rookie, have you?
I haven't. I don't know how that ends.
It ends like this. There's a moment where Dennis Quaid is still playing minor league ball before he's been up to the big leagues, and they're all out having drinks and having laughs. It's the first time he's ever gone out with the other teammates who are 20 years younger than him. And one of them says, "You're all right. You're not as bad as that." And it gets all hushed. And then he realizes they all kind of hate him. And he says, "You guys think I'm taking somebody's spot, don't you?" Because he's an old man who's near the end of his, longevity. And there's some kid who's not going to get a chance to play in the majors, and they all resent him for it.
Yeah.
That's exactly like what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's exactly like The Rookie.
It works for me. I like it.
Were there any other big snubs you guys noticed for this year's nominees?
I feel like that Ben Foster should have probably gotten nominated for Hell or High Water.
Yep.
I mean, again, we look at these awards a lot of times, and they're very eager to go ahead and say, "Oh, Jeff Bridges was in that? All right, hey, let's nominate him." And he was good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nothing against Jeff Bridges. But Ben Foster's been one of those guys that has been like a just quiet character actor for all these years, and a lot of times we forget he's in certain movies. You can't forget he's in this.
No, this is a showpiece for him.
This is something where you could finally say this guy deserves a nomination at least to say, "Hey man, you're doing a great job," and this is we recognize that, and especially in a movie like this. The Arrival was like that. I mean, Arrival got several nominations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like they didn't see Amy Adams, and it's not like they didn't see Ben Foster. Like Hell or High Water, he should definitely get nominated for that. Now, I would say he would be supporting actor.
Yeah.
So
he's kind of like the Jeremy Renner character in The Town, like the unhinged brother.
Yeah.
So you got Mahershala Ali, Jeff Bridges, Lucas Hedges, Dev Patel, and Michael Shannon.
So, yeah, Jeff Bridges, definitely. I mean, it's not like they haven't done that before, put two from the same movie in the same
Godfather
category.
2 had 3.
Yeah. But out of this group, unfortunately, at this point, I've only seen The Manchester by the Sea, and I've seen Hell or High Water, and I have seen Moonlight. Now, Mahershala Ali is in Moonlight for about 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Now, he's certainly deserving. He's really good in it.
Mm.
But it's one of those, he's not in it very long.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that we're trying to have more diversity, and that's a good thing for the awards. But here's one where I feel like Ben Foster probably should have gotten, and maybe just kick Jeff Bridges out. I don't know.
Well, I said to you, Jeff Bridges is doing Rooster Cogburn.
Yeah.
Just as a U.S. Marshal or Texas Ranger.
Yeah, he was doing that in Crazy Heart, which he won.
Yeah,
for.
Exactly.
And Lucas Hedges definitely deserves it. He is an outstanding actor in Manchester by the Sea, so I wouldn't kick him out. But I don't know about Dev Patel yet, and I don't know about
he's supposed to
Michael
be great
Shannon.
in that movie.
Michael Shannon's probably great too, because he's usually great in everything.
Yeah.
So
well, Jeff Bridges now has 2 modes. He's got the dude, and he's got Rooster Cogburn.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is
and those aren't very far from each other, really. One's a little sharper and less weed than the other.
Yeah,
but
one's a little crankier.
Yeah. But yeah, that out of that, I feel like Ben Foster probably should have gotten nominated anyway.
I've seen a lot online about and I can't tell how tongue-in-cheek people are being about Deadpool being snubbed by not being nominated for Best Picture.
Right.
To the point where everybody was writing articles the day of the nominations about a tweet Ryan Reynolds sent about, like, congratulating all the nominees we're still going to have our no pants party or whatever he was calling it.
Mm-hmm.
And did we ever think that movie had a chance to win Best Picture?
No, but I think I read an article recently that said it should have just gotten nominated just to. This is not the reason why you nominate Best Picture, by the way, but the Oscars ratings for the telecast have been going down steadily since whatever. It wouldn't hurt to nominate a movie like Deadpool so that people at least think it has an outside shot of winning and watch the telecast. It wouldn't have unless something really crazy happened. But yeah.
Well, and especially since you've got this nebulous no limit to how many. I mean, what is the limit actually? Like 10?
I think it's 10, but they have 9.
They have 9
this year.
Yeah, you can just slot something in.
And look, Incredibly Loud and Extremely Close, whatever the fuck that movie's called, got nominated. So Deadpool should definitely get nominated under that situation. So yeah, I mean, it's a tough line. I mean, a lot of times they nominate stuff that doesn't make any sense. They're just trying to get some sort. I don't know what they're trying to do. A lot of times, they somehow slip in. I don't get it, but yeah, why not Deadpool with these kind of rules? You might as well throw it in there.
It's making me think of Tug Speedman. Just to be nominated would have been. You were nominated?
Yeah.
No. I was saying if I had been, it would have been nice just to be nominated.
Yeah. Okay. Now we did that for this year's Oscar telecast or whatever. Now let's go back in time a little bit and take a look at some of the ones that. Now I've mentioned John Goodman before. I've said that in Flight or Argo he should have probably gotten nominated. In the year of Flight and Argo. Alan Arkin was nominated for Argo. Tommy Lee Jones for Lincoln, Philip Seymour Hoffman for The Master, Robert De Niro for Silver Linings Playbook, and Christoph Waltz, who won for Django Unchained. I could easily lose Robert De Niro in that group.
Yeah.
Silver Linings Playbook. That's one of those where the movie got a lot of like acclaim, and everybody was like, "Oh man, De Niro, man, De Niro,
yeah, he's back.
He's back." Even though he's really just doing what he's always doing in the last 20 years of his career. It's just that he's in a better movie this time, and so like. You don't have to shower De Niro. It's one of those things. De Niro almost was like Streep there for a while before he fell off the cliff. You don't need to keep on giving this guy nominations. We've awarded this guy. Everybody agrees he's greatest actor ever or whatever. And meanwhile, poor John Goodman, this guy's been had a career for like 40 years and he can't get nominated for some of the best work he's ever done. That it's just insane to me. It's like when the Academy sits there and De Niro, yeah, I can't pick against that guy. De Niro, he has no chance of winning, but yeah, let's do it. I would have gone with Flight probably, just so that it wouldn't have been Arkin versus Goodman in Argo going against each other. But either one would have been fine by me.
Yeah, I mean, you could make a case that 10 Cloverfield Lane should be under consideration.
Yeah, I mean,
he was terrific in that.
Yeah,
too.
for sure.
Yeah. He's just great. Another guy that we've often talked about how great he is Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
And it frustrates me to this day that he wasn't nominated for Sideways.
Yeah.
And 2 of his co-stars were.
Yeah.
And he is the heart and soul of that movie. And I'm not taking anything away from, Virginia Madsen or Thomas Hayden Church. They're both great in that movie. But that movie doesn't work without Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
You could put thousands of different people in that role and it wouldn't work. And it's just a crime to me that, he's been overlooked a number of times.
Yeah.
But that one stands out almost more than any of them to me.
I would say that I think Sideways was nominated for Best Screenplay, Best Picture, and all this Best Director, Alexander Payne, all these other. You're talking about this movie was basically just showered with award nominations, and then when it came to Paul Giamatti, they're like, nope,
fuck that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost like he has some kind of mysterious Mel Gibson past we don't know about, where they're like holding something against him.
Yeah,
maybe so. There's a tendency in a great movie to overlook the lead.
There is,
especially if they're not outlandishly exciting. But as I'm saying, that he is.
He's pretty outlandish in this movie.
He takes you through every emotion. I mean, where he's gobbling down the spit bucket, or like out there saying he's not going to drink fucking Merlot, and then those quiet moments when he's talking about the Pinot grape and all that stuff with Virginia Madsen. Man, I mean that's a very nuanced performance.
And the depression he displays when he's sitting on the bridge with Thomas Hayden Church after he's gotten the call, after the drinking out of the spit bucket, and he's like, I'm not a writer. I'm a 5th grade English teacher. And he says this really eloquent thing, I'm a fleck of dust floating out in the excrement of sea, or blah, blah, blah. And Thomas Hayden Church is like, see? I could never put together a sentence like that. And he's like, neither could I. It's this other writer.
Well, and that was, so I was looking at the year. It's a tough category, but easily could have lost one or two of these guys. Jamie Foxx won for Ray that year.
Oh, okay.
Leonardo DiCaprio was nominated for The Aviator, which I get it, but come on.
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood for $1 Million Baby. That's another one of those. Clint Eastwood, I can't not nominate that guy. Don Cheadle for Crash, and then it was Hotel Rwanda.
Oh yeah,
and then Johnny Depp for Finding Neverland, which you take that the fuck out.
Yes.
Give Paul Giamatti a goddamn nomination.
You goddamn motherfuckers.
You goddamn motherfuckers.
That Finding Neverland pick, I think, was just a follow-up for the goodwill that he had after the Pirates thing.
Oh, it definitely was. And Depp was finally getting nominations after he hadn't been in the 90s and everything. And it was like, all right, we got to give Depp every time he could get, is sort of had that window there where everything Depp did got nominated. But good God, man. Yeah, you could have gotten rid of 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah.
And put Giamatti in easy.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to break up the sausage fest and talk about Catherine Bigelow.
Oh, yeah.
This is such an unnominated directorial effort that I had even forgot that she wasn't nominated. In fact, I thought that she had won that year because Zero Dark 30 was such a phenomenon. I mean, everybody was talking about it. All the critics loved it. Everybody that saw it that I talked to loved it.
As we said before, because the movie seemed to be saying that torture works, it lost a lot of its steam.
But as we said before, it doesn't do that. And this is a great feat. So there's 2 great feats that she did in this movie. One, it's that trick of making investigation interesting.
Yeah.
Same thing that they did with Spotlight, same thing they did with All the President's Men. It's the investigation has you riveted.
Mm-hmm.
And then she hauls off and gives us one of the most tense scenes of all time.
It's incredible.
Literally all time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that she was not nominated was just ridiculous to me.
It's because that Hollywood has chosen James Cameron and not her.
I guess so.
Post-divorce.
Yeah.
And they're on his side.
Yeah. That's what it is.
It shows daddy and not mommy.
Yeah.
That's correct. That is correct. It's funny you brought this up because in the same year, Ben Affleck for Argo wasn't nominated. And when I went through this and I saw that Affleck and Bigelow were not nominated, I was like, okay, so who got nominated? It was Ang Lee who won for The Life of Pi.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Haneke for Amour. Okay, I understand. Look, good movie, but it ain't Zero Dark 30.
No,
it's not the type of stuff that Amour is such a quiet, like you have to be a good director to make sure your 2 actors that are in the movie basically do the things that they're supposed to do. But come on, come the fuck on.
Yeah.
And then David O. Russell for Silver Linings Playbook. I'm totally fine with that. But then Spielberg for Lincoln. Okay.
Yep.
And then they went with I will butcher this name, but Ben Zeitlin for Beasts of the Southern Wild.
Mm-hmm.
Beasts of the Southern Wild is another one. I'm sorry. It's good. You had to direct a 9-year-old kid in this movie. It's very tough, but it ain't Zero Dark 30. and you also sitting there like you lavished Argo with all these awards and you're like, Argo's going to be best picture. Like, well, whoever directed it, he's a fuck nose.
Yeah, exactly. We hate the guy, but we like his work.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, these are the feats. The feat of what Catherine Bigelow did in that movie for what I was just saying. And then, wrangling the international cast and everything. Same thing that Ben Affleck had to do with Argo is, wrangle all these complex themes, even though it's a true story, obviously. And then this huge cast and, multiple locations and things like that. I mean, that's just so much more impressive than even a wonderfully nuanced, quiet movie. It's just, if you want to award excellence, reward excellence. You know?
I would also go with, here's another Alexander Payne movie. Shailene Woodley for The Descendants.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
When I first saw Shailene Woodley in The Descendants, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This is a new star right here.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was just riveted by her performance throughout. And I thought for sure she would get nominated for it because it was a big movie, again, got lots of nominations and everything. So that year it was Octavia Spencer for The Help. She won. That's fine. Berenice Bejo for The Artist, which is, I don't remember.
Oh, no, she was very good.
No,
but
she's good.
That was that movie that got so much momentum and it was just going to bowl over everybody.
Jessica Chastain for The Help. I love Jessica Chastain, but do you remember much about her in The Help other than she was kind of funny in a couple scenes?
No, you remember Octavia Spencer, Viola Davis, and Emma Stone.
Yeah, The Help is a movie that just, they decided, I'm going to give every nomination I can to that movie. I'm surprised Anna Camp didn't get nominated.
I'm surprised a movie with a shit pie scene can get so many nominations.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm still not over that.
That was also the year that Melissa McCarthy got nominated for Bridesmaids. I don't have a problem with that, but when you have somebody like Shailene Woodley in there, it just, I mean, it's, I never saw Albert Nobbs, but Janet Mateer was nominated there as well. But I feel like one of those nominations easily could have gone by the wayside for her.
I really wish I had done the research you're doing and did in terms of looking at who actually got the nominations.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all I did was write down snubs.
That's fine. I'm here to help.
You got my back?
Well, yeah. When you mention yours, I'll go to the year and I'll look at it.
Thanks, man.
Mm-hmm.
You also have a computer, and I
do.
I
do.
So, is it my turn? Or you want to keep talking about Shailene Woodley some more?
I mean, I think I've said my piece.
All right. I mean, I wouldn't mind talking about Shailene Woodley some more.
I've said my piece, and I've counted to 10.
Let's talk more about Shailene Woodley. Why the fuck was she in those Divergent movies?
I don't know, man.
Money. Well, we can't go, we can't be down on her for that. She has to have a living too.
She's got Divergent money now.
That's right.
Yes. Okay, so the next one I want to talk about is John Turturro in Quiz Show.
Yes, that's a good one.
Now, I love this movie, and I think there are a few key performances, but none more important than this one. Like, Herbert Stimple, the character, is the anchor point, and he's great at all the little ticks. He's great at showing us a really intelligent guy who really isn't that much better off in life because of his intelligence. He creates a character that you both look down on and feel sorry for. And I think that's hard. I think that's difficult. It takes a top-tier actor to be able to walk that line so finely, because he's pretty shady at points in this movie. Mm-hmm. He's just very much self-interest oriented, and yet he's still kind of got screwed over, and you feel bad for him. And then at the end, in the Senate hearing, when everybody's just kind of laughing at him, anyway, that performance owns that movie, and I bet Chris is going to tell us what should have not been.
He's incredible. Now, would you put him as best actor or supporting actor in that movie?
I actually would put him as best actor in that.
Okay, because I don't find I would probably put him in supporting just because Rob Morrow is like the main guy.
I can buy that,
but we'll go over both of them just in case. So the best actor category was loaded. You had Tom Hanks for Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman for The Shawshank Redemption. Nigel Hawthorne for The Madness of King George, which I still haven't seen to this day.
Me neither.
Well, I remember it coming out, and I remember he was good in it. Like, I mean, seeing everybody was talking about it, and I saw clips of him, and he was good. But Paul Newman for Nobody's Fool.
Oh, he's so good in that.
And John Travolta for Pulp Fiction.
Mm-hmm. Man, it's hard to knock any of those out.
Yeah, 94 was a big, big year. Like, it would be hard to knock any of those out. Now, in the supporting actor category, you had Martin Landau, who won for Ed Wood, Samuel L. Jackson for Pulp Fiction, Chaz Palminteri for Bullets Over Broadway.
Might pick that one.
Paul Schofield was nominated for Quiz Show.
Oh, interesting.
Your Name is Mine.
My name. I love him in that movie.
Gary Sinise for Forrest Gump.
Oh.
Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah, Lieutenant Dan.
Okay, I might take that one. I might flick him out with my pinky finger.
It is a tough year, but I would put Turturro over probably Sinise.
Yeah, I probably would too. It's just that I just don't feel like I can't think of too many other actors that could have made that work. Not with all the subtle nuances and the nagging wife and the nerdy son, and I just feel
he's just one of those actors. He's another actor that has never been nominated before.
It's interesting. When I walked in last week, Chris was watching Barton Fink, and we watched it for a little bit. and it was John Goodman and John Turturro.
Another one where he could have gotten nominated.
Yeah, on the screen at the same time, and we were both saying, like, these are two of the most underrated actors of all time. You know?
Yeah, and Turturro was nominated for this movie for a Golden Globe and a Screen Actors Guild Award, but not for an Oscar.
Yeah, you would think that would translate. I mean, and you're right. He is so good in this. It's a different character for him even. Like, I mean, Turturro is, for the most part, he does play different characters or whatever. But for the, a lot of times it's John Turturro. He's
you don't fuck with the Jesus.
Yeah. And I'd like to have a blowjob from Christy Turlington. That type of thing. But yeah, this is this is so different. You don't really see Turturro in that.
Yeah.
It's one of those kind of performances. And again, yeah, that is a really good one. And I feel like, one of these could have gotten lopped off. But at least in this case, it wasn't like, they decided to nominate, De Niro for something again just because he's De Niro, or
put Meryl Streep in the supporting actor.
Yeah. Hey guys, there just wasn't enough room in the actors category, so can you make some room in the actor? That'll be fun. I mean, she's still technically an actor, even though it's not a male. You can see what I'm saying here, right?
I would love to see Samuel L. Jackson's reaction to losing to Meryl Streep.
Oh, I know. Well, it's funny because I do remember that Oscars, and when Martin Landau won, he visibly goes, shit, because they had the five, like,
are you serious?
They had the five, like, people up there, and it may not have been as loud as that, but he was like, shit, like that. You could see him on the telecast saying that.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it adds to the Samuel L. Jackson lore,
man.
especially after that Jeremy Simpson episode. All right.
I've got one that we all love that was shocking to me to go back and realize that it wasn't nominated for Best Picture or Director, and that's Alfonso Cuarón's Children of Men.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, wow.
It won for Best Editing.
Unreal.
Yes. This wasn't a crazy year for that thing. I know you're about to pull it up. But it was absolutely insane. That is it was innovative, I mean, those long shots, those action set pieces that center the movie. Clive Owen didn't get nominated. It literally just won for Best Editing, and which is great, which it definitely should have. But the scope of that movie, the themes that it deals with, the way that the immediacy of the shots, that absolutely should have at least gotten nominated.
I believe we may have gone over this a little bit when we went through the 2006 year. But this is a mega snub.
Yeah.
So The Departed won in 2006. We understand that. But here are the movies that got nominated along with it. Babel. Fuck Babel.
Yeah, fuck that movie.
Letters from Iwo Jima, which I'm fine with that. Little Miss Sunshine, which I know you guys are really big on, but fucking put Children of Men instead of that movie.
Yeah.
And then The Queen, you could put Children of Men there easily. The Queen is a 2-hour movie about whether we should fly the flag at half staff.
Yeah.
That's about what it is. Like the Prime Minister talking to the Queen. Should we, well, she's not really a princess anymore. She died. I understand, but I don't know if we should put the flag at half mast. That's the whole movie.
I think we can substitute it.
God damn it. We got a movie like Children of Men sitting here, and the fucking Queen and the half-mast fucking flag.
You described the Queen much the way I described Joy, like boiling it down to its bare essence.
Yeah.
I'm not going to watch it now.
It's kind of, the movie Jackie, which is a decent movie and everything, is also kind of like what the Queen is for me, because obviously we have a central death that starts our movie off, and then it's mainly about how they should do the funeral procession. And it goes back in time. It shows a lot of different. It's not just that. That's very reductive of me. But a lot of that movie is about what the funeral route's going to be. And Natalie Portman's great in it. But it's one of those type of things. I want to talk about something real quick. Natalie Portman. I've never really. I've always admired Natalie Portman. I always thought she was beautiful. All these type of things. I never really understood if she was a good actress or not. There were some movies that came in and I can see a glimmer of like a good actress there. Black Swan was probably the first time I really thought she was a good actress. Jackie, she's great.
Yeah, let's keep hearing that.
Like I think that she's finally there. Like she's learned all the things that she needs to learn to be a great actress. It's like one of those things where at the beginning of it, I was like, oh man, it feels like she's just putting on this like show at the beginning of it. And then I was like, the beginning of the movie is just her being interviewed with Billy Crudup, and Billy Crudup is asking her questions and everything. I was like, okay, maybe she's like this for the interview. I'll see if she's like this everywhere. And then like once she starts talking and it's not interviews and stuff like that, it's a slight change to it and everything. And she's really good and very varied type of performance. And I was like, I really like Natalie. I think she's a great actress in this. Like all the other stuff like that, yeah, she's serviceable, V for Vendetta and Black Swan, all these, she's good or whatever. She's great.
You could see the raw talent in The Professional.
Yeah,
Beautiful Girls.
No, I mean, Beautiful Girls was another one, and I always knew that she had it in her. It's just that, it was just never like when the first time she started taking like big adult roles, even like Closer and stuff like that. I was just like, not quite feeling her yet.
It was a tiny bit wooden.
Yeah. Not quite feeling her yet as a great actress, but now she's definitely hit that, and she's like about 35 or something. She's gotten some experience.
Maybe she'll be the next Meryl Streep.
Maybe so.
Just
never know. Never know.
It's gonna have to be somebody.
Yeah.
Meryl Streep ain't gonna last forever.
Yeah, exactly.
They need to do River Wild too.
Well, wait a minute. They'll find a way because they'll have figured out that Futurama like head in the jar shit by the time that Meryl Streep dies.
I want to see a River Wild prequel with a CGI de-aged Meryl Streep running that gauntlet for the first time as a teenager.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I just gave somebody a really bad idea.
Yeah, and it's going to happen now.
Yeah,
you wouldn't need to CGI
You
Kevin
put that
Bacon.
out in the world. Okay, here's one of the biggest ones. And actually, you're going to probably hear Scorsese's name come up quite a bit, but Scorsese in 1976 was not nominated for Best Director. Taxi Driver was. The year that in 1976, the category, they gave Ingmar Bergman a nomination. Ingmar Bergman, kind of like Meryl Streep as far as giving nominations.
Yeah.
Just because he made a movie, there's like, let's give him a nomination. Fuck it.
What did he make that year?
The movie was called Face to Face.
Oh.
And yeah, exactly. I'm sure it's not he's still making good movies in the 70s. I haven't seen Face to Face, can't really say one way or the other. I have seen a couple of Ingmar Bergman movies in the 70s. I'm like, all right. But come on. It's one of those come on type of things. And then there's another one named Lena Wertmuller, something like that. For Seven Beauties.
All right.
Never heard of it.
We still talk about Seven Beauties today. But the other nominations were John Avildsen for Rocky. It makes sense. Sidney Lumet for Network. That makes sense. And Alan J. Pakula for All the President's Men. All those deserving nominations. Those other two, they didn't give Best Picture nominations to those other movies or anything. They obviously saw Taxi Driver and said, this is a movie worthy of being nominated. And then they said Scorsese had nothing to do with that. I don't think, a lot of times we are also being kind of reductive about the selection process. I don't think it's as simple as we're putting it down. I think because, and I believe directors nominate directors and actors nominate actors, and everybody nominates for Best Picture. So if you're in the Academy and you want to nominate director, this is why it's so weird when somebody gets a SAG nomination and they don't get the Oscars, because those same people are nominated.
Yeah.
And so like, I think the directors at this point, Scorsese's not exactly a popular dude in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I don't think he ever has been. Really.
No, apparently not. Right?
Yeah. I don't think he ever has been. I think he came in and people were like, how dare you come in and make movies that are awesome? And so he's never been a popular dude. And I think they just said, no, fuck it. Ingmar Bergman. And then we'll put this Lena Wertmuller or whatever. I'm probably being very, very dickish towards this. He probably has a career I had no idea about. Like, look at that. 20 amazing movies I've never heard of because I'm an American. And, but yeah, that's something that surely he should have nominated for. Easily.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so I'm going to go with one of the best modern working composers, and that's Michael Giacchino.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Who's only received 2 nominations and only won 1 Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
And that was for Up.
Mm-hmm.
Great score.
Yeah.
The other nomination was Ratatouille. Another great score. But I still think his incredible score is better than both of those. And I've told you how much I love that Star Trek theme.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can nominate fucking Suicide Squad for hair and costumes, you can nominate a Star Trek movie for a Best Original Score.
Yeah.
Did you? No. You've had 3 chances now with this bastard and his awesome themes, and you just given it the finger.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of great working composers, but as far as like the new generation of great composers, he's like it.
Now,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure if this is. I mean, it may have been just the fact that it was Star Trek, and they were like, fuck it. But there are also harder rules for like original song and score to get nominated, because a lot of times, some of the same type of themes will be in a movie that a composer did before. They wrote it for another movie. Like that was one of the classic things I think for Moulin Rouge. Had an original song in Moulin Rouge, but Baz Luhrmann intended for it to be in Romeo and Juliet, so it didn't get an original song nomination when it came out for Moulin Rouge.
Interesting.
And I think scores are the same way. If you have a piece that you wrote for this and didn't use it, and you're like, all right, I'm going to use it for this, it's not original score anymore. Now, I don't know if that's what happened. I know it has a little bit harder rules. Let's look at what happened in 2009, though. So 2009 is when he got nominated and won for Up. So that's one possible reason.
I see, because he was nominated for something else.
Yeah. Now they've nominated him same guy before.
Yeah, La La Land is nominated for 2 original songs.
Yeah, and I think
he's probably going to screw it.
But I think like maybe James Horner or Hans Zimmer or one of those guys probably got 2 scores nominated. The other ones that year, though, are Avatar, James Horner.
Ugh.
Fantastic Mr. Fox was Alexander Desplat.
Yep.
Or Dipla, or whatever that fucking French name is.
Diplo.
The Hurt Locker is Marco Beltrami and Buck Sanders, and then Sherlock Holmes, Hans Zimmer.
Do you remember anything about the Sherlock Holmes score?
I do not. No, a little bit. Little bit. Yeah. I mean, it's good.
I definitely don't remember anything about the Hurt Locker score.
No.
Yeah.
I think Fantastic Mr. Fox probably deserving. Avatar, fuck, I don't remember anything about Avatar.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was too distracted by the visuals to hear the
music.
music.
But Giacchino did win that year. The Incredibles, which was 2004.
That's one of the only scores in the last 20 years I bought was Incredibles.
Oh, really?
It was that good.
Original score in 2004. Finding fucking Neverland won.
God damn that movie. Who did they sleep with?
That movie is the troll of the 2004 Oscars.
Yeah.
The Village, James Newton Howard.
What?
The Passion of the Christ, John Dabney.
Geez.
Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, John Williams.
That's good.
And Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, Thomas Newman.
Oh,
and
wow.
I believe at this point, this is where Giacchino hadn't really made his name yet. You can see these guys who got nominated. It's like, these are legends.
Yep.
And everything. Fucking Finding Neverland.
No.
Now I'm gonna have to listen to the score and see if I just get pissed off at it. You know, like I'm gonna listen to this Finding Neverland score, like see if that was deserving at all.
You end up and you're like
and
weeping.
Like, yeah, I'm like,
God, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it was so good. The movie was terrible. I'm so wrong, Jan AP Kazmarek. But yeah, one of those movies should have gotten kicked to the curb for The Incredibles, for sure.
I agree.
Yeah. All right.
Do we want to do one more round?
Yeah, let's do another one. Fuck it.
Yeah, I don't like the fact that Michael Keaton wasn't nominated for Spotlight. So with Spotlight, there was so much support from everybody.
Yeah.
Rachel McAdams was nominated. Mark Ruffalo was nominated, both rightfully so. The director,
Tom McCarthy,
also nominated.
Mm-hmm.
But Michael Keaton is the glue for this whole thing, both in the story itself and in the movie. I mean, because he is the tie to the city. And we were talking about Boston movies and like how they could just keep making them. Like there's something about, except for Patriots Day, I guess. But,
although I've heard, now this could be totally way off, but that movie is actually pretty good.
Really?
I've actually heard it's good.
Which movie?
Patriots Day. It but the thing is, I mean, it got like an A cinema score, which is unheard of. It's still, I'm a little worried about the sources of those people who are saying that movie is good. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, Boston has that unique connection to their thing. That's why you get the town and how you get that second layer to it. Good Will Hunting.
It's amazing how Boston becomes a character in all these movies.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in a different way than something like New York or Chicago. It's just like a certain attitude. Gone Baby Gone is the same thing, you know? And with this, like, you can see Michael Keaton's character throughout, like, burning his bridges to get this story out because it's so ingrained. This whole, pre-molestation scandal is so ingrained to the city where they've been covering it up for so many years, where it's just like, these things happen, it's part of our town, And he has to just like break through that bullshit and, ruin friendships and everything for the greater good. And he's like, what, this is how it's always been done. And the way that he plays those things, he has a very serviceable accent from what I can see. And he wears his emotions, starting at Birdman, I guess. He just wears his emotions so openly and nakedly on his face that it's just awesome to watch. And the fact that he wasn't even nominated is ridiculous. I mean, you could have done actor or supporting actor. Ruffalo was nominated for supporting actor, and he's awesome. But Michael Keaton should totally have been in the running somewhere in that year. In this year, in the last year.
There's even that part in Gone Baby Gone about the Boston stuff where Ed Harris is like, you think you're more from here because you were born here? And, the truth of the matter is I've lived in this city since before you were born. Yeah. So does that make me less or more of a Bostonite than you? Anyway. Yeah, there's something different about Boston than any other major city. And I can't tell you what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but I do like watching those movies.
It's the way that they talk. It's like
even Mystic River is set in Boston.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, The Departed, where it's got Alec Baldwin. It's like, well, you one of those fitness freaks? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. You have some of the same elements in there too. You like Mystic River. You've got the author Dennis Lehane. So a lot of times you have Ben Affleck behind the camera, or Matt Damon's on there, or whatever. I mean, there's people who know Boston and have lived there and know what they're talking about a lot of times. That's where I see come through a lot of times. Like, I mean, once it gets to New York and Chicago and LA and all these big places where there's very few that actually make those cities characters at all. It's just kind of like, well, this is something that's happening in New York, it doesn't have anything to do with New York, But all these Boston movies are very Boston, you know? So, so the year that you're talking about is 2015. So you had Mark Ruffalo for sure. You also had, so Mark Rylance won. Christian Bale for The Big Short. Tom Hardy for The Revenant. And then, Sylvester Stallone for Creed.
Exactly.
And that's another one of those, you're just taking up space here.
A lot of space too. He's a big dude. I mean, not tall, but he's wide.
He's taking up a lot of space here. Everybody thought he was gonna win though.
Yeah.
That was a thought, like he was gonna win it. Like there was just basically give him a lifetime achievement of being, Rocky.
Yeah.
Essentially. But I mean, I feel like Stallone easily could have been slid off, for Michael Keaton. The best actor. Let's look at that real quick.
That was a strong year too. So I mean, that was Leo that won. You had Bryan Cranston for Trumbo. You had Michael Fassbender for Steve Jobs. This is actually the list that Jeremy read off. For the
stacked
most category there. Eddie Redmayne for The Danish Girl, and then Matt Damon for The Martian. Now, I mean, it's hard to bump any of those guys. But I think in supporting actor, he could have done it. There's really no lead character in that. I guess it's him by default, but the story is the lead. That sounds really cheesy. At
least you recognized it before you were finished
right
saying
in the middle of it.
Well, we mentioned Gone Baby Gone, and that did not get a Best Picture nomination. Now,
bullshit. That's a travesty.
2007, the movie didn't do anything. Ben Affleck, that was his directorial debut. There are a lot of factors into why Gone Baby Gone. It got completely missed by people. I mean, nobody really knew it was that good. But Amy Ryan got nominated, so it's not like people didn't know what Gone Baby Gone was. The 2007 obviously was a great year. That was one of the last times we talked about probably the last great year that we've seen. But the category was winner was No Country for Old Men. Then There Will Be Blood, Michael Clayton, Juno, and Atonement. I could do without Juno or Atonement in that, and I like Juno a lot, but it's not Gone Baby Gone.
It's not Best Picture caliber,
right? And Atonement's the same way. Atonement's got its moments in it and everything, but I don't remember anything much about Atonement at all.
Just how sad and fucking depressing it is.
Yeah. And yeah,
I remember being sad.
Why do people keep making movies like that? Watch this person suffer for 2 hours.
Yeah. I also wrote down in this year that Casey Affleck probably should have gotten nominated for Best Actor in this year. The winner was Daniel Day-Lewis. You weren't going to win there. But you could have gotten nominated because it was Clooney for Clayton, George Clooney for Michael Clayton, Johnny Depp for Sweeney Todd.
Oh my God. He's still trading on this fucking goodwill.
Yeah. And that's probably the last time I actually liked Johnny Depp. Mm-hmm. But God damn it. Give me a break. Tommy Lee Jones for In the Valley of Ella, which I did watch. I couldn't tell you anything about that movie now. It was another one of those Paul Haggis movies that, Paul Haggis, he's the toast of the town. Let's nominate everything he does. And Viggo Mortensen for Eastern Promises. That makes sense. I wouldn't kick Viggo Mortensen off, but I would definitely kick Johnny Depp off for Sweeney Todd and put Casey Affleck there, that was his star-making role.
Yeah.
Right there. He had been a supporting and background character actor forever. And then he comes in, and I was not expecting him to be the guy he is.
Well, and now look where he is.
Right.
And now he's nominated for Manchester by the Sea and is probably going to be considered one of our best young actors from this point forward.
Yeah.
But, you have to believe Ben saw something in him and knew he could carry that role.
Yeah.
It wasn't just nepotism, because he owns that role.
Yes, he does.
And, growing up together, I mean, I didn't see anything in Good Will Hunting from Casey Affleck that made me think, he's going to be great, right? He was just one of those wisecracking Bostonites. But Ben knew. He had to know. I don't think you make this decision without it.
It's interesting you bring up Good Will Hunting, because I believe it's the commentary for Good Will Hunting, they're talking about how nobody on set knew what Casey Affleck was doing on that movie. They loved his performance.
Chuck, I got a double burger.
Yeah. When everything was cut together, they're like, "Oh, now we see what you were trying to do." It was, and it turns out terrific. You're right. It's not like you're going to think that he's going to be like fucking Gone Baby Gone Casey Affleck. But they were really, it was kind of sort of like the Depp Pirates of the Caribbean thing. They didn't know what he was doing. I mean, there's a lot of improv in there, the whole thing with the baseball glove.
All right, explain that, by the way.
Yeah.
So he goes off and he's like, "What are you jerking off in my mom's bedroom again?"
Mm-hmm.
And he comes down. He's like, "Hey guys, and he's like, "Do you jerk off into the glove?" And he's like, "No, I use the glove for the cleanup." What the fuck is that?
I'm pretty sure.
How do you clean up jizz with the fucking baseball mitt?
Guarantee you, it was some sort of improv they included in, and they just thought it was so funny they couldn't leave it out. Because you're right. What the fuck is right? Because the way he says it, I just use it for cleanup. Yeah. He was not even expecting that to be in the movie.
If you actually use it as it makes sense to use it as an aid, but not for cleanup.
As an aid.
I don't know that
not
it
even
makes
as an
sense
aid.
to use it as an aid, but I think I could come up with plausible scenarios you could, but not for cleanup.
Right.
Yeah, no.
But he was in stuff like To Die For. He was Joaquin Phoenix's friend in that and everything. I mean, there's a lot of little things that, Casey Affleck was in the 90s that you're like, yeah, he's pretty good. But never once anything where you're like, he's going to be gone. Because Gone Baby Gone, I was like, fuck this guy. How's he going to be?
Yep.
I was really going into Gone Baby Gone thinking that.
Think about, if you're Affleck and you want to have a career in directing and you get this as your first big shot, you fuck that up. You're done.
Yeah.
It's going to be ages before you direct again.
Yeah.
And he puts it all in the hands of his little brother. Mm-hmm. My brother would never do that with me.
Yeah.
He could easily have played that role himself.
I think so.
And it would have been probably very good.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad he didn't.
Yeah.
I'm so glad he didn't, because it's better with him, Casey, doing the stuff, because Ben Affleck, you know what you're going to get from Ben Affleck at this point in any kind of performance, especially like that. Mm-hmm. Occasionally he shows some flashes that he could be better than he is as an actor, and he's not bad as an actor. I don't want to get that twisted or anything. He's decent as an actor. He's always he's always serviceable. And in fact, this past year, The Accountant, he's one of his best performances I've ever seen him in. And Hollywoodland, he was really good just before this movie came out, before Gone Baby
Even
Gone.
in The Town, I think there's a little extra flourish there in his acting.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But no, it wouldn't have been the same. Okay, so that's we could probably go a lot on Snubs. Like sometimes I feel a little bit hacky on this because we're coming up with stuff that's fairly recent and everything. We'll one day look back into some of the older years and everything. But yeah, I mean, this is something that there's like a million that we could come up with, and I'm sure we'll revisit it next year.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by NatureBox. And once again, you can go to naturebox.com/SinCast and get 50% off of your first order.
That's almost half.
Right? That's almost, it's very nearly half.
My math is right.
The mean is half. The NatureBox has healthy snacks. There's not a lot of stuff that you get at a gas station.
You're not getting a lot of preservatives. You're not getting a lot of the artificial colors and whatnots and
and the have fours and the
and the didgeridoos.
What a maroon.
I'll tell you what NatureBox does well, man. I love popcorn, and NatureBox kills popcorn.
Yes.
I mean, they murder it. Here's what happened to me on the night of Game 7 of the World Series. So I'm a Chicago Cubs fan, and NatureBox just happened to have this Chicago mix. It's caramel and white cheddar popcorn. And I tow up that bag by myself. My wife came in. She was like, "Can I have some pop?" No, gone.
Yeah,
gone.
Yeah, and the bag. The bag was gone.
I mean, Game 7, you'd probably be like really hungry.
I was eating everything in sight,
especially considering the ups and downs of that game. Yeah, Rajay Davis, boom! Oh, the Cubs fans, they're like, I'm going to eat all this popcorn and I may have to turn off the television for a while and just bury my sorrows in NatureBox.
But that was awesome, and based on that, we ordered the buffalo popcorn, the buffalo flavored popcorn.
Holy crap, that stuff's
and it's
good.
just the right amount of spicy. Oh, it's a little bit sweet. It's so good, man. I was snacking on it when Chris and I were making dinner for each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Don't say that.
We can easily cut that out.
What I like about NatureBox is the variety, like, because everybody's got a different palate, right? Like my wife likes spicier snacks than I do. I'm not a real hot food person. I'm more into like zesty, salty snacks, something sweet maybe. You can get any combination. Any and all of those different flavor profiles, they have it in spades. And so if we get a box, my wife can get a couple of spicy snacks, habanero whatevers. And I don't think they actually make habanero whatevers.
Yeah, they do. They totally make habanero.
If they don't, they should. Inspired by Jeremy on the SinCast. Here's a bag of habanero whatevers.
It's a bunch of question marks.
That's right.
I'm about to trademark that.
Yes.
No, anyway, the variety is really great. It ships to your door. Legwork, 0.
Exactly.
Save 50% on your first order.
Yep.
That is the best thing. Not any work at all.
Yeah.
Just go to a website and say, all right, I want this. And then it comes to your door.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing in the world. It's like having Christmas. A package just shows up on your door and it's got nothing but tasty treats in it.
Who doesn't like getting packages? Even if it's like cat food, I order for my cat. I like getting packages. But when it's for me and it's tasty snacks,
yes,
yeah,
that's the best.
Absolutely.
Right.
Makes you feel important. And And
join NatureBox to feel important.
That's right. That's correct.
That should be the new ad slogan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no, that's the main thing for me though, is that all the snacks that have ever come in, I'm like, man, some of these, I don't know. Some of this assortment, I don't know if I really want that or whatever. And then you try it, and you're like, whoa. This is the most delicious that I could possibly think of.
Exactly.
So, anyway, yes. Everybody, if you want to go to NatureBox, go to naturebox.com/SinCast. Get 50% off your first order. And that'll do it.
Do it.
Do it.
On to segment 2. We're also going to continue talking about Oscars. This one is, they got nominated, but they didn't win?
They didn't win?
They didn't win?
Record scratch!
Exactly. Record scratch is right. Record scratch.
I did the motion when I did that. I think that's what got Barrett.
Record scratch,
and it's at a
indeed.
45-degree angle, too.
Yeah.
That's how you scratch records.
That's how you do it.
You stab at them from above with your hand at a 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
I know. I talked to Laurence once. I know everything I need to know about records and DJing.
Yeah. My dad was a piano mover. So
all right.
So, Jeremy, you want to kick us off on the didn't win?
I would love to kick us off on the they didn't win. And I'm going to go with Saving Private Ryan for Best Picture.
That's a good
off
one.
The bat.
That's a good one.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
And I know what won. Mm-hmm. You know what won. Mm-hmm. Shakespeare in Love is what won.
Yeah.
And Shakespeare in Love is a charming, fun little film.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
That I never want to watch again.
Right.
But because it's Shakespeare, I think that's what did it. I really don't know how Saving Private Ryan. It's almost like what you were saying with Children of Men.
Mm-hmm.
Like, go through the nominees for that movie. Outside of Shakespeare in Love, you're going to find other shit that should drop off way before. You're no Saving Private Ryan, motherfucker. Yeah. Clear out.
There's not a movie that captured our, I don't know, all the senses like Saving Private Ryan did. I remember the first day this movie opened when I was at my old theater, Williamson Square, and we got it late. We got it the morning of it actually playing.
Oh yeah.
So I had to build it really fast, and like that first show, hopefully it goes well. We had a sold out show on that first show. My manager was very let me watch the movie. He's like, you can watch it. You came in here and built it and all that. And I was like, okay, cool. And that, man, I was floored by this movie.
Yeah, that's the first 20 minutes. That assault on Normandy is staggering.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like maybe this new Nolan film, Dunkirk, is going to give us some of those same kind of visuals.
Yeah.
But prior to Saving Private Ryan, I had never seen anything that made war feel so fucking scary.
Now, one thing that you are getting here in this late 90s period is you're getting the Weinstein brothers who, the Miramax was behind Shakespeare in Love. The Weinsteins were classic winers and diners and campaigners for their movies and stuff. That's why you got a lot of weird stuff like, the year Chicago got nominated, it was Best Picture, and then Best Director went to freaking Roman Polanski and all this other stuff. You had a lot of weird stuff like that happening, and they were good at their jobs at getting these movies like trumped up and everything. This is a really bad one, though. This is a bad one. Shakespeare in Love's a good movie. It is not Saving Private Ryan. I think anybody. There's no wave of anything there. Shakespeare in Love definitely had a wave. But it wasn't like Saving Private Ryan where you're like, and then you gave Spielberg Best Director.
Yeah.
And, it's just, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Do you think there was a little bit of war fatigue? Because The Thin Red Line and Life is Beautiful were also nominated. Of course, Life is Beautiful is not a war movie, but it took place.
It was all World War II. They were all World War II. And then you had the two Elizabeth movies, Elizabeth and Shakespeare in Love. Maybe, but Saving Private Ryan is so different from The Thin Red Line. Completely different.
Oh, yeah.
Thin Red Line is a ponderous, poetic type of movie. Saving Private Ryan is an action war film. And I don't know what they were thinking there. That doesn't make any sense.
No.
And you just keep looking back at it, and it's like, That's a total waste. I think
if you were to give 10 people the list of categories that didn't know what the winner was and ask them what the winner was out of this company, it would be all 10 that would say Saving Private Ryan.
Almost, I bet.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd have to get somebody who really knows their Oscars to say, no, actually, it was Shakespeare in Love. That's a really good one, though. That's one that doesn't make sense at all. And yeah, bad one. Really bad. Didn't win.
Bad Academy.
Yeah.
Bad Academy.
Yeah. I'm going to go with 1972 Francis Ford Coppola for The Godfather.
Yeah.
The Godfather won Best Picture. This is a rare split in the 70s here. You don't get this often. Like we start getting it a lot, like start towards the 90s with the Saving Private Ryan thing and all that. And then later on, like there's some years in a row that it's happened. But I don't know what the Academy's thinking here either. Like Coppola must have been one of those he was a new kid on the block. He had not done anything before The Godfather. That, by the way, either read the book or watch The Kid Stays in the Picture, the Robert Evans thing, which also documentary now went through. Watch that or read that book sometime. That's just great stuff about The Godfather. But Coppola, this was basically his first big movie, and man, how in the world did he slam Godfather like this? I mean, nobody really thought Godfather was going to be anything. It was a best-selling book.
It was, but it was kind of one of those pulpy books.
It was a
that
trashy
people were reading
book
on the beach and stuff.
Yeah,
and he elevated it.
It was a trashy book, and they didn't. And I think, but Robert Evans, like in the book, he's like, what the fuck is this movie? Like, give me, I need. I think it was in Easy Riders, Raging Bulls where they talk about this, but. Where's all the good stuff that you shot or whatever? And like, and it's like, and I think it was like it was supposed to be like a 4 or 5 hour movie or something or whatever. But anyway, they gave it to Bob Fosse for Cabaret, which is okay, fine. It ain't The Godfather, man. Come on. I mean, and all the stuff that you have to juggle in The Godfather, come on.
What a weird year too.
Yeah, you had Mankiewicz for Sleuth, which was that Michael Caine. I can't remember who else was in it.
That's basically
but they remade it with Michael Caine and Jude Law later. And then they had somebody named Troell for The Immigrants, which I don't remember anything about that movie. And then John Boorman for Deliverance makes sense, but God, I mean, that's the crowning jewel in that category is Coppola, and they did give it to him for Godfather 2 years later, but he should have had 2.
But and then you look at the supporting actor, because you had Duvall, you had Pacino, and you had James Caan, and none of them won.
Yeah. Well,
seriously,
that's one of those where it could have easily been a split vote.
Well, yeah, because Marlon Brando did win, and that's when he sent up Littlefeather in his place. So that was just kind of a bonkers fucking ceremony, I'm sure.
Yeah, I bet people were just like out of their minds in that ceremony. They were probably on drugs, allegedly. But yeah, that's a big one that didn't win. So anyway.
Well, I have the Citizen Kane of they didn't win.
Okay.
And that's Citizen Kane.
I should have seen that coming.
Citizen Kane did not win Best Picture in 1941.
Yes.
I mean, that's absolutely insane. And one of the greatest pictures of all time.
What we're finding out here through all this Oscar history here is that if you're a first-time director, if you don't have the name yet, a lot of these things now, a lot of times they'll some of these newcomers will slip in and they'll win an Oscar. But
Anna Paquin.
Yeah, I think Anna Paquin but just as far as directors and writers and all this stuff, Citizen Kane was not a beloved movie back in 1941.
Yeah, obviously not.
I mean, it did get Best Picture nomination, so there was obviously a lot of people who did like it.
It got nominated for actor, director, and for picture, and didn't win any of them.
Yeah. But I don't think anybody knew what the greatness of Citizen Kane was yet. I don't think people had really dissected Citizen Kane yet. Maybe they did. Maybe they knew all the techniques that he had invented, basically, for that movie.
Wouldn't you be in awe, though, if you were in 1941 and you saw that shot coming in through the roof of the casino?
I would be, but maybe back then it was like, I don't kowtow to these new to these new filming techniques.
I like that voice. That's like a Horrible Bosses 2 voice. Looks like a grasshopper found himself a bloody grass.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's like, I am suspicious of these new filming techniques they're coming out with in Hollywood. This 26-year-old buck named old Orson Welles. He was 26.
I know,
and I think that's what a lot of people probably said. He's 26. He'll get his,
I guess. But I mean, you had it's a populist movie. It's a yes, people have dissected it, but it's not really a hard movie to enjoy.
Yeah.
It's got, intrigue, it's got sex, it's got, political stuff, it's got, rich people doing rich shit, Who
doesn't like that?
Exactly. I mean, and it's just a very enjoyable, obviously it's an amazing movie, but even the first time that you watch it, it's enjoyable to watch, and even all these years later,
And who knows? There also might have been something from William Randolph Hearst trying to get that. Because that.
Oh,
movie,
yeah, that's interesting.
The movie was supposedly loosely based on William Randolph Hearst. Maybe he had some pull there, but I mean, it did get nominated. I just think that the Academy, and it was probably old back then too.
Mm-hmm.
Was just like, this young whippersnapper, he doesn't deserve the Oscar yet. And I gave it to How Green Was My Valley.
Yeah. It's probably the same people that are still there today.
Yeah, probably is. You're probably right.
They're 180 years old.
You're not wrong. I'm sure there's people like Mickey Rooney still in the Academy or whatever. But yeah, that's a good one. Because especially now when that movie has been elevated to best of all time, and it's been best of all time for years and years and years. All to the point now that I don't think anybody's ever going to make a movie that people will say is better than it. It's that. I think that's where it gets into overrated category.
It's like the Beatles. Nobody's ever going to say a band is better than the Beatles.
Yeah, exactly.
Or more influential than the Beatles.
And they forget that sometimes those bands made bad songs, or
or you haven't seen 50 Years into the Future. Fuck you. Yeah. I like Citizen Kane a lot, but. How often are you reaching for it on the Blu-ray shelf to watch it?
It's not often. I mean, but back in 1941, I don't know. I really do think at the time it was more about its politics at that point, and it still is.
Yeah, sure.
It still is. I really do think it wasn't. There might have been a lot of people who thought that was the best movie.
Yeah,
but they just said, not yet.
Well, that's just crazy. I mean, because you got Citizen Kane, you had Suspicion, Hitchcock's Suspicion, and then you had The Maltese Falcon, and How Green Was My Valley. Fucking one.
Yeah, which is another. I mean, that's a movie we don't talk about at all.
No.
Yeah.
But for the record, My Valley was really green.
It was that. Yeah,
it was green as shit.
Yeah, absolutely. How green was it? Very,
very green.
Very green. I have a whole valley that I bought. How green is it? Okay.
You got one?
I just did.
You did that one?
That
was Citizen Kane, so it's my turn again.
Your turn.
I don't have as many as you guys, so I'm going to have to drop out of the cycle here pretty soon. But it still blows my mind that Tarantino didn't win Best Director for Pulp Fiction. In part because of how much Forrest Gump has paled for me.
Absolutely.
Since that year. I mean, I saw it when it came out. I liked it. I wasn't angry that it won. I was glad Tom Hanks won.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, it just gave it to the wrong movie. And also you had Quiz Show. There were plenty of other options, and we're going to give Best Director to Zemeckis for Forrest Gump.
94 was such a strong year. And then, Forrest Gump, there was nothing that was going to stop that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the movie was an epic. It was classic Hollywood type of stuff. In the 90s especially, you look at all these movies that win. There are a couple of wild cards in there, like Silence of the Lambs and stuff like that. But for the most part, in the 90s, they were going for these big, epic movies. And Forrest Gump was the top box office draw that year. Everybody in the world loved that movie. It was hard to pick against it for anything. But I believe, again, secretly, everybody else liked Pulp Fiction better. And again, we have a young whippersnapper, Tarantino, coming in.
Yeah, we're noticing a pattern here.
Yeah. That, that was his second movie.
Yeah.
And they gave him the screenplay. That's almost like sort of like saying we see how great this movie is. You know, it was like later on, late next year, The Usual Suspects won and everything. So yeah, I mean, I agree. I think everybody who watched that telecast by that point was like, Pulp Fiction should really win this.
Yeah.
It's just not.
That one is one that did make me angry because it was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Supporting Actor, Supporting Actress, and Editing, and got nothing besides the screenplay.
Yeah,
which he had to share with Roger Avery, and they hate each other now.
Yeah.
Although I think they may have reconciled or something like that. The story, the legend about the acceptance speech is that Avery came up and said, I have to pee, and then he left basically because he didn't want to share the stage with Tarantino and everything.
Yeah.
And then I think later on Avery said he disputed that or whatever, but who knows? Who knows? You know, it's I don't care. You know,
who knows? Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a funny moment that they both came up there, and he's like, and Tarantino did all of his thing, and then Avery's like, I really like to stay around, but I got to pee, so blah, blah, blah. And that was it. But yeah, I mean, from what I understand, Avery had a lot of the ideas that were, I mean, I don't know how much he wrote of it, but I do know that a lot of the ideas that were incorporated were Avery's more than they were Tarantino's. And I'm sure Tarantino took those ideas he had and made it Tarantino, stuff or whatever. Who knows really?
All we know is that he's got a good track record since then.
It's not like he didn't make anything after that without Avery.
Yeah, exactly.
And what did Avery make?
He made Rules of Attraction.
Yeah, he did. Before that,
and he made Killing Zoe.
Killing Zoe. That's what I was thinking of.
And he was the writer on that Silent Hill movie too.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, Roger Avery's had an interesting.
He's had a better career in Hollywood than I have.
Yes, he has. Absolutely. But yeah, that's a good one. Pulp Fiction. I think I remember going, man, it'd be so great if this movie won, and it just he couldn't stop Forrest Gump.
No,
couldn't stop.
That's a shame.
It was a Gump train.
Yes, it was.
All aboard the Gump train.
That's right.
Whoop, whoop.
Yep. Which would later be made into the Polar Express, right?
Which would then be remade into Snowpiercer.
That's right. So you're learning a lot of movie history today.
Shit.
Okay, so in 1980, you could also say this for 1990 as well, for Martin Scorsese for Raging Bull. Didn't win in 1980. In 1990, he lost to Kevin Costner for Dances with Wolves. Don't have a problem with that. Dances with Wolves is a great movie. And that's a weird one, though. Kevin Costner was a young whippersnapper back then.
Yeah.
And Scorsese was the guy who had all the... Yeah. That shows you how much they fucking hate Scorsese right there. I mean, Dances with Wolves was definitely one of those movies that rode the wave and everything, and it wasn't going to lose anything. Right. But they gave it to Kevin Costner, Best Director, over Scorsese over all these years. But anyway, in 1980, Raging Bull... Scorsese didn't win. Robert Redford won for Ordinary People. Now, Ordinary People is a good movie. Mm-hmm. It's not. God, this is a theme, right?
Yeah.
It's not fucking Raging Bull, though. Like, Raging Bull has so many great film techniques and like performances and everything that a director has to be in command of. Scorsese knocks the shit out of the park. And Ordinary People, yeah, you have to. It's a very nuanced character study, blah blah blah. But man, Jesus Christ, what does the guy have to do?
No,
this was his first nomination too. But in that category, you had Polanski for Tess, Richard Rush for The Stuntman, and David Lynch for The Elephant Man.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Which I don't know if I don't think Lynch has been nominated. Maybe he has. Mulholland Drive might have gotten nominated.
Wow.
But yeah,
Raging Bull has all the stuff that the Academy typically likes too. It's a biopic, it's an epic,
gaining weight for a role.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd think that some of that would filter down to the person that was in charge.
There's
one person.
There's just some great scenes in Raging Bull, though. I mean, you notice the talent behind the camera, and it's It's just an odd thing. That was one of those odd trivia things where Scorsese lost to 2 actors turned directors in the Best Director category. He lost to Redford and he lost to Costner.
I think that, I understand the Dances with Wolves thing.
Yeah, it's not nearly as egregious, but
I don't know. It's pretty egregious.
Goodfellas is now one of the best movies of all time.
And that's where he's really showing off, too, with the tracking shots and with all that stuff and just this crazy cast.
But I think as far as quality, the chasm of quality between Raging Bull and Ordinary People is bigger than from Goodfellas and Dances with Wolves. And Goodfellas is, probably better than Raging Bull is.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show how good Dances with Wolves was. But again, it's just another one of those things where they just say, Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
I still watch it every time it's on.
No, it's a good movie.
Except for when they kill the wolf and I flip it off because I don't like watching that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's hard.
You flip it off in 2 ways.
I do. I flip the channel and I extend my middle finger thusly.
Extend your middle finger.
I don't know what you're
The Naked Gun.
You sound like you're from London.
Yeah. That's what's his name from the old commercials? We make money the old-fashioned way. They earn it.
Yeah.
And he's the driving instructor in The Naked Gun, and he's got the girl and the driver, and like there's like the sort of like a run-in or whatever, and he's like, okay, turn to your left, extend your middle finger, and the guy in the truck's like, what? That's some good instructing right
That's
there.
right. I got one that's maybe a little controversial in here.
Son of a bitch!
Yeah, this one made me a little bit angry too. It's that Jack Nicholson didn't win for A Few Good Men, Best Supporting Actor. Now, the person who did win was Gene Hackman in Unforgiven, who's terrific.
Yep.
Who's amazing. But
Nicholson's still better?
When you look back on that year, which performance are you going to remember?
Noah Wiley.
I mean,
this is controversial because I remember Hackman as much. If Nicholson doesn't have the "you can't handle the truth" line,
yeah. But he does.
But if he doesn't.
But
I'm just saying that's what makes that performance memorable more than anything, probably, is that, he's great in it. And that's the one part, though. Like, if he didn't have that line, we'd be like, that was a good Nicholson performance. I don't think it'd be nearly as legendary without it.
I know, but he
one
does,
fucking line.
He does have,
and he's in it for like 10 minutes.
That line is the culmination of the entirety of the movie. Though. If he doesn't, the movie almost, you can make an argument, falls apart if he doesn't have that line and that delivery.
Yeah.
This was quoted by everybody, including George Costanza and Seinfeld, everybody.
Sideshow Bob.
I
deride your truth handling abilities.
Yeah. You know, truth handler, you.
But then you got you want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Which you wouldn't, I don't think you would remember as much if it wasn't for that one.
Well, exactly. That whole speech, it still kills me where he's like, who's going to guard that wall? You?
Yeah.
You, Lieutenant Weinberg? Calling out Kevin Pollak out of nowhere.
Yeah. Out of all the people that
you in the fourth row in the red
dress. You people who were at the airfield that night.
Are you going to do it?
I don't know. That is an indelible performance.
I agree. I don't disagree that he maybe possibly could have won, should have won for an iconic performance. Hackman's so good in fucking Unforgiven, though.
I'm just surprised he didn't win.
Okay.
Because, yes, I agree. I love Hackman's performance in
You just shot an unarmed man.
Yeah.
He should have armed himself.
Yeah. Well, that's the you can't handle the truth of Unforgiven.
Yes, it is.
They're fueling their missiles. Oh, sorry.
We don't have time to fuck around.
I just wanted to participate.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do a bunch of Gene Hackman quotes and prove that Barrett's wrong. Welcome to Mooseport.
Yeah. Can we do Runaway Jury?
Yeah, Runaway Jury. Yeah.
Wow, you just pulled that out of your ass.
The Chamber.
By the way, Runaway Jury is, I think, an underrated movie.
Yeah?
Because it's got that wonderful scene in the bathroom between Hackman and Dustin Hoffman where they're just seething at each other. And they're, one is completely the dominant. Hackman is the dominant one, and Hoffman's this scrappy little, underpaid lawyer and everything. And he fucking throws his nuts on the counter, and he's like, "Yeah, you want to go? We can go."
Yeah.
And it's a really cool scene. It's not like a great movie. Cusack is in it, but
this says something maybe about John Grisham. But I think you could take Gene Hackman from Runaway Jury and John Voight from Rainmaker, swatch them completely. Swatch them completely.
Yeah, swatch them.
Swip or swatch them.
Yep.
I said it wrong 2 different ways. And you would never notice. Those characters are virtually the same exact thing.
I don't think so.
Corporate evil guy.
I'm going to put a tangent on a tangent here because when you said Gene Hackman and Dustin Hoffman, it reminded me of that Simpsons where they're watching that. It was the Itchy and Scratchy movie.
Yeah.
And Lisa comes home because Bart can't watch this movie. It's the first time he's ever been punished and he can't watch this movie. And Lisa's like, there were so many guest voices like Michael Jackson, Dustin Hoffman. He's like, they didn't use their real names, but you knew it was them. Calling back to the fact that those 2 actors did voices for The Simpsons and didn't use their real names in the credits. But Michael Jackson reminded me of Gene Hackman, then Dustin Hoffman.
That was a great tangent.
Yeah, it was a tangent upon a tangent upon a tangent.
I'm going to go back to the whole, if you ask 10 people on the street who won in that category and you show them a list, 9 to 10 of them would say
be 9.
Jack Nicholson.
I wouldn't say 9.
You don't think so?
I mean, maybe 7 or 8.
I got a question that nobody would probably be able to answer off the top of their head. Who were the other 3 nominees?
That year? I wouldn't know. I would have to think for that probably.
Or type into your computer.
I will, but I will. But I'm just saying that if you were asking me straight up and
oh no, I wasn't trying to test you.
92.
I just thought that, wouldn't it be funny if there was one that I thought was more deserving than either of them? We're debating these 2, and I don't remember who the other 3 were.
So in 1992, Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, it's interesting. Al Pacino and Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah, see?
David Paymer in Mr. Saturday Night. Okay. And Jay Davidson in The Crying Game.
Oh. Well, he was good in that.
So, yeah, that was the one I've always argued that Jack Lemmon should have been in for Al Pacino on Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah.
They should have, and I think I said this in that long time ago. Pacino, they definitely wanted. He had never won the Oscar. He'd been nominated 7 or 8 times, and they gave him 2 that year. I think just to basically say, "Well, we're going to give it to you." But if you're giving it to him for Sin of a Woman, basically, you don't need to give him a nomination for Glengarry Glen Ross. Put Jack Lemmon in there for God's sakes.
Yeah,
he does have the showier role of the 2 in that movie. Pacino does.
You think?
Well, he's the one that does all the screaming and shouting.
Yeah, he's got the one speech at the end.
When Kevin Spacey fucks his deal up.
Yeah.
You never open your mouth until you know what the shot is.
You stupid fucking cunt. Where'd you learn your trade, you stupid fucking cunt, you idiot? Who told you that you could work with men? Oh, I'm going to have your job, shithead. That's right. I'm going downtown. I'm going to Mitch and Murray. I'm going to Lemkin. Because I don't care whose nephew you are, who you know, whose dick you're sucking on. You are going out. I swear to you.
I didn't know you had that much memorized. That's impressive.
Yeah, I know that whole thing. Yeah, you're right. It's showier, but Jack Lemmon has the performance that's the best.
I would agree.
Because he goes through a whole range of, it's his daughter. He's doing all this for his daughter. A lot of phone calls where you don't really know what's wrong with his daughter and everything. He's just like, so what are they going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And then you just see him reacting. Mm-hmm. You don't ever hear what's over on the phone and everything. And then like him trying to sell Kevin Spacey on stealing the leads.
Yeah.
All the times that he's on the phone with these people who aren't going to buy anything. Yeah. He's in this full-on actor mode and everything. He's got so much range in that. It's insane he didn't get nominated for that.
I want to watch that movie like right now.
I know.
I saw it like 3 days ago. It's fresh on my mind. That's how I know you were getting all that Pacino speech right, because I just watched it.
Yeah.
He calls him a pansy at some point in there too, doesn't he?
No, he calls him a fairy.
A fairy.
He's like, you fairy, you company man.
He's got this weaponry of insults.
Yeah.
And he he's supposed to be going into the office to be interviewed by the cops, and he like takes a half a step and then yells it's Kevin Spacey some more, and then takes a half a step back and keeps yelling. It's like he half starts to go in the room like 6 different times.
Yeah. I will say, I mean, I am somewhat shortchanging Al Pacino in that movie because he has a lot of like fun stuff in it that just makes me. It's like. When he's telling Alan Arkin, he's like, because you know why? They're not going to find the guy. And they're not going to find the guy. And he's like, they're not going to, he's like, because he's like, why are they not going to find him? Because they're stupid. And of course they find him in like 10 minutes because, Jack Lemmon is stupid.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
You want to go to questions?
Let's go to questions.
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth.
I am listening.
I like this one a lot. What are your favorite examples of physical comedy? This is stuff that you don't really hear people talk about very much these days because, back in the day it was Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, and then you had kind of the newer wave of what my pick is going to be. I guess I'll go ahead and do it. Steve Martin. Steve Martin was just a terrific, and probably still is, physical comic.
Yeah.
The stuff that he does in The Jerk is unbelievable. The stuff he does in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels is fantastic. The way he can contort his body, planes, trains, and automobiles.
Well, especially the scene that Jeremy brought up in a past podcast with Dirty Rotten Scoundrels when he's trying to come up with the name.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just like walking through that jail cell trying to come up, and everything is wrong. And he keeps going, now Jefferson, Thomas Fells, goes through all that stuff. And then, by the end of it, it's like you're talking about Jameson, and he's like, yes, we're like this, crossing the fingers.
Well, he's also great in Three Amigos, which I think is a movie that is almost lost to time. You don't hear about it all that much.
Yeah.
I play it regularly.
Oh, it's great. And I mean, just his physicality in that movie is almost like overseen because when he's chained up to the wall, he's like, gotta make it.
Yeah.
And then he goes back and he's, ow.
Yeah.
Speaking of Three Amigos, I get my wife with that mail plane joke all the time.
The which one?
It's a Martin Short joke where a plane goes by and he's like, oh, it's a mail plane. And how do you know that? He's like, didn't you see its little balls? And in the movie, he's the only one that thinks that's funny.
Yeah.
But my wife forgets it every time. Like her brain is wired to actually see a plane with a Postal Service logo on it when I say that phrase.
That's awesome.
Well, John Ritter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly in the Three's Company days, was a modern master of physical comedy. He didn't do so much of that later in his career, probably because he was older. But a lot of the humor came from him fumbling and stumbling around the apartment and the slamming door farces that they would get in. And so I wanted to mention him. But the one that always comes to my mind first for this kind of a topic is Lucille Ball.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And it's evidenced plenty in the old I Love Lucy show, whether it's the grape stomping or the chocolates going by too fast. I love the Vita Vegemin or whatever, Vitamita Vegemin or whatever it is, where she's got to repeatedly taste this nasty health sauce that's also got alcohol in it. So she's slowly going drunk. But she had a couple of different shows after I Love Lucy. And I think one was called The Lucille Ball Show. Mm-hmm. There's one episode, I'm pretty sure it was this show, that I saw that made a lasting impression on me where she's on stilts in a bedroom next to bunk beds. And I can't tell you any more than that, except that when I watched that, I think it was in college when I saw it. That was the first time I saw her as the physical comedian she was and not just a funny person. Mm-hmm. Because she had the same kind of chops that you're talking about with Steve Martin or John Ritter, and all the way up to your modern Jim Carrey. So anybody who's famous for contorting their body for humor's sake, she was as good as any of them.
She had people rolling.
Yeah,
I mean, absolutely
with no dialogue.
Hysterical. That whole conveyor belt scene.
Oh, yeah.
Will make you crack the fuck up to this day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it will. And my wife actually loves that show, so she'll put it on. It's on Amazon. And she'll put it on pretty regularly, and there's never not a laugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's one of the all-time greats.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Chaplin and Keaton, and I'm going to say them. And Jackie Chan, I think, also.
Yeah. Oh, good call.
But I wanted to bring up a thing because the Belcourt a couple of years ago, our local Belcourt theater, played a whole bunch of Charlie Chaplin movies, and I watched most of them. And they even played some of his shorts and stuff like that, like back in the day. And the funniest part of all of those movies that I watched, he's got a short called The Idle Class. And there's a scene where he goes up to he finds a note from his wife. His wife says, I will be sleeping in other rooms until you stop your drinking. And Chaplin looks down at the note and you see that he's very sad and everything. And then he turns his back to the camera and you just start seeing him shake. Just like, oh my God, he's crying or whatever. And then he turns around and he's just shaking a new alcoholic drink.
That's genius.
And he doesn't show that it's funny or anything. This is classic comedy stuff here. He's got that same the same blank expression on his face. He doesn't know he's doing anything funny. It's one of those type of things. Chaplin's great. And then Buster Keaton, if you ever watch The General, watch The General. That's just a great Buster Keaton masterclass in physical comedy. You can't go wrong with those guys.
Nice.
I want to throw one more out, can I?
Yeah, man.
Michael Richards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I say this because yesterday, the channel I watch Seinfeld reruns on sometimes had cycled back to the very first episodes, like where Jerry's apartment looks completely different.
Yeah.
Kramer is not the same Kramer in those episodes.
Mm-hmm.
He's just weird.
Yeah.
He doesn't come in the door crazy. He doesn't speak crazy. He doesn't have wild eyes. He just does weird shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And after a few episodes, when they retooled the show, that goes away and it begins to morph into this thing where just by walking into a room, Michael Richards could make the entire studio audience die laughing.
Yeah.
And he's famous for having practiced so hard. He never wanted two door openings to be the same. He wanted every single time to be something different about it. Anyway, so he's a modern genius. What were you
It's
saying?
interesting that you bring that up because a lot of times when you watch Seinfeld and Richards comes through the door, you hear the audience clapping and stuff like that. Now, you think that it's just because it's Kramer and everybody loves Kramer, but a lot of the times it's because that's like the 10th or 11th take that he's come through the door. And there's an episode, I believe, in the series that shows him multiple going through.
Oh, yeah, that's the clip show at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's just a lot of those, he's missing whatever he's wanting to do with it and whatever, and and then finally he gets it right. That's when you hear the resounding, woo, that type of thing.
I've heard him described as a very, he was very anal retentive about his comedy. And not a lot of comedians are like this, but the ones that are just hyper focused on the specifics of kinds of things you and I would never think of, right? What kind of an actor goes, I got to walk in the room different this time and still be funny, and instead of tripping on my own feet, I'm going to accidentally bump my head. The guy went sleepless nights sometimes thinking about how to keep this fresh and keep this anyway. I don't think he gets enough respect for the physical comedy because he's the only one on that show that's doing any of that.
Yeah.
That's
just
a good
wanted to toss that one out there. Hit us with another cue there, B.
Alrighty. What movie would you like to see again, but entirely from the villain's perspective?
Ooh, all right. I'm going to say Independence Day.
Yeah.
Do they have a big speech from their alien god? This is their Independence Day.
They had to have, right? But they failed. And I want to see that. I want to see that big speech and then the subsequent failure. I've always actually dreamed of an alien invasion movie where we got to see the aliens' perspective. And not in the way that, this time it's bad aliens. We would normally never want them to invade Earth and win. But I want to see that perspective and everything. And Independence Day is as good as any other when it comes to that.
That's genius. You could call it Bad Alien.
Yeah, exactly.
It would remind people of Bad Santa.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'd have to have a relationship of some sort. With,
there'd have to be a little kid,
like an alcoholic alien and a kid alien. That's a little bit too fat.
No, the kid is a human right?
Ooh, yeah.
And the bad alien is trying to not be as bad.
He's the kid from Close Encounters of the Third Kind that Melinda Dillon has to meet and greet when the ship comes.
Exactly.
At the end. That's the same kid.
Yeah,
because he's been in space for years.
He's the bad alien kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, my mind immediately went to two of my favorite 80s films, The Untouchables and The Hunt for Red October.
Yeah.
Now, in The Untouchables, we see Robert De Niro as Al Capone a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And he shares one key big scene where he squares off with Kevin Costner in the lobby of the hotel. But 90% of this movie or more is from the hero's perspective, the cops, the good guys.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't mind seeing, if you took kind of like the Road to Perdition approach, looking behind the scenes of Capone's organization and his lieutenants and henchmen and all the stuff that they had to deal with, not only in trying to stay ahead of the cops, but he's so notorious for his temper when his men screwed up. He kills that guy with a baseball bat for no reason. That guy, the cops storm the place. He kills the guy who happened to be working that day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think that would make for a very interesting movie. And I think the same with Hunt for October. Show us that Russian student who we see a couple times, Alexander Skarsgård.
Stellan Skarsgård.
Stellan Skarsgård. Yeah. One of those Skarsgårds.
Yeah.
But show him more and show more of the Russian fleet as they try and find and track down this ship.
You arrogant arse! You killed us!
You killed us!
Yeah, absolutely. Because the way he finds Ramius in Hunt for October is he's got some smarts, and I'd like to see him sort of plotting his course.
Yeah, until that moment, he's an arrogant ass and gets themselves killed.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be, basically just as smart as Ramius. Anyway, I think that'd be neat.
Yeah.
Nice.
What do you got?
We've been monkeying so much with this movie lately that I figure we can monkey it more.
Let's monkey.
Wouldn't you like to see a Hans Gruber perspective on Die Hard?
Now, have we not seen his perspective in Die Hard?
Here's what I want to see. I want to see, this plot was so meticulous. I want to see him from the town type of perspective.
Okay.
Where you see him kind of going through, or heist or something like that, where he's planning everything down to the minute details. And then when you get into the tower, you see it from his perspective. It's almost a horror movie because he's got this boogeyman in the walls that he can't see, that he doesn't know, that keeps killing his men. He's got the best intentions in his warped little villain mind.
Yeah.
And you see this plan that he's meticulously done just unravel. And, you see he's such a super genius, but you can see how little holes keep getting, he's building frustration, things like that. I would like that.
I think there's some potential there, especially if you go back and show more of the planning and I think you could do that really cool.
You got to recruit the right people. Yeah. You've got to, get them furnished. You got to get them.
You got to go to the diner and hire that guy after Wayne Grove fucks up.
Yeah, Wayne Grove.
I pulled it out of my ass. I'm pretty proud of myself.
Yeah, Wayne Grove. That's a little Heat reference for you guys. I can see that. If you do everything Hans Gruber has this backstory that they kind of skate over a little bit. He was in this army and blah, 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 and he recruited his best men and all that type of stuff. It would be nice to see him in that sort of that pre the tower, Nakatomi Tower, recruiting his guys. I'd like to know how he got Theo on there.
And he's so quick and personable and villainous that that would make really fun watching.
Yeah, exactly.
Good call.
All right, next one. What are your favorite non-English speaking actors? Now, this is a weird question, I think, because you think of, for whatever reason, my mind went to
Even
Australian actors.
though
that's not a foreign language.
Because they don't speak English.
They speak Australian.
They speak Australian. What do you think?
They speak Falsters.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going with my boy Donnie Yen, who's in Rogue One and is in Ip Man, 3 of the 4 of those movies they've made, I believe, and Iron Monkey. And he's so intense, and his fighting style is so unique. And I think that's part of why I like him. And then I also wrote down, and I'm going to butcher this name because I screwed it up in the Sins video, Jaimon Hounsou.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Sounds good to me.
All right. I even researched this to make sure somebody doesn't say, he was born in East LA, you moron. And he was in another country until he was 15. And he's been great. We even joke in that Tarzan video that we did that he doesn't realize how shitty this movie is, so he's still acting his ass off. Where he's like, "You killed my son!" I just think everything for Blood Diamond is my favorite movie with him, and it's a very nuanced performance because unlike where he's the heavy, like The Island or Guardians of the Galaxy or Warrior or whatever, he's kind of meek. He's just trying to get back to his family and not get screwed over by Leonardo.
Yeah.
And he has a real soul to him in that movie. But I'm always happy to see him come on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to go with two picks that have been in, I think, a couple of movies together. Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz.
Who are married.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the deep recesses of my mind.
Yeah, I think that's where they met and all that. Of course, they're both from Spain.
Yeah, both from Spain, and both have very heavy accents and can go back and forth between the languages, and frequently do, especially in Vicky Cristina Barcelona. They kind of speak English, that kind of thing. Javier Bardem, I think, makes everything that he's in better.
Yeah, for sure.
No Country for Old Men. His performance, it's a great movie regardless, but his performance puts that over like another 15 to 30%.
Yeah.
Skyfall, same thing, and even Vicky Cristina Barcelona, like he is really strangely enough, the moral center of that thing. And then I cannot get enough of watching Penelope Cruz.
I know.
She is just magnetic,
Mm-hmm.
like a Vanilla Sky. The
Pleasure of Sophia.
Open your eyes.
The reason that Tom Cruise, you almost feel like Tom Cruise in that movie where, he actually points to her at one point and she's like, well, maybe we'll meet someday when in the next life when we're all cats. And he's like, that's the reason that I love you so much is because you do shit like that. Cats, meow. But man, she's just so electric. She's so gorgeous. And man, I love watching her in anything I see her in.
Open your eyes.
Can you imagine if Tom Cruise and Penelope Cruz got married, then Penelope Cruz could just be Penelope Cruz no matter what?
Yeah.
Or she could double it down and be Penelope Cruz.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. That's what I would prefer.
Yeah. Well, I think you actually go faster with two cruises than with just one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
cruise control.
That's just basic math.
Obviously.
When you add cruises together, it's just the speed. It's just fact. All right. So yeah, those are good ones. And I would I'm piggyback on Javier Bardem because he's the same. It's same for me. I actually wanted to say Michael Fassbender, but I believe he had a German father and an Irish mother, and he grew up in Ireland.
Oh.
So I mean, he knows German, and he knows I think he knows 5 languages or something like that. But I'm pretty sure he knew English right off the bat. And in fact, when he's talking, you can't really even hear an accent a lot of times. It's more British than anything. But Christoph Waltz, I'm gonna have to say him. He's just an entertaining actor. And how about old school Max von Sydow?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Sydow is Swedish, I believe, and I'm almost certain probably did not speak English right off the bat. But he's become like one of those guys that we think is like, I don't know, he feels like he's always spoken English because he has a very dignified voice. Minority Report, And
I always wished I had a Von in front of my last name.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Von Scott.
Yep.
That's
it's like the Von Traps.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that carrying on.
Yeah.
But it makes you a little bit more of a badass if you have a Von in front of your name.
Like Von Miller?
Like Von
Miller.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Or Lindsey Vaughn.
Or Vince Von Vaughn.
Vince Von.
Yes.
Make sure you pronounce both the Vaughns differently there.
Von Vaughn.
You want to do one quick one and then one regular one?
Sure.
Let's do, whatever the fuck.
All right. Now, this is something that we don't usually talk about very much.
Sex?
What are some... Yes, it's definitely about sex that we never address.
Have mentioned it.
We never address sex, Paul Giamatti, or John Goodman.
Or Die Hard.
Yeah.
Never once have we.
Those are really taboo subjects. Anyway, so what are some movies with awesome costume design? Interesting per se. I actually just recently, the other night, watched Marie Antoinette for the first time.
That's a good one.
2006
I mean,
movie,
as far as costume design is concerned.
Sofia Coppola directed it, who has a great sense of fashion. And man, this costume game is on fucking point.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's so on point. I told you in email, my wife bought this movie. She didn't like it.
Yeah.
She bought it because she loves the costumes and the sets, and she watches it regularly for the costumes and the sets.
It's amazing because this is the royalty at Versailles. In Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI, Jason Schwartzman character, which is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't think it's a terrible movie, but the costumes just put it way over the top. And it's costume porn. I mean, they really like focus on
Very
it,
much
them getting dressed, undressed, all this other stuff. But it's really, really stunning.
But, if you ever want to see one of the best trailers, and I was talking about like can't really name a lot of trailers past 2006 that were great. Marie Antoinette's trailer is great. The trailer is just filled with color, like just great action and everything. And I was like, that's going to be great.
Yeah.
When I saw that trailer. I even watched it at the New York Film Festival, and I paid $20 for it.
Wow.
And then I was like, yeah, that wasn't worth $20. But
but this is after she did Lost in Translation, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so you
but she had, I'm trying to think, well, I guess it was right after. Yeah, I guess it was
This
the
is
next
between
one.
that and Bling Ring, right?
Yeah, it was the next. It was I think it was the next one, actually. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, I was like, Sofia Coppola is finally like, she's going to make the big time with this movie, and the movie wasn't good, but the trailer, look that up.
That
That's
whole
good
soundtrack's
stuff.
great.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, your pick of Marie Antoinette reminded me of another movie my wife bought because of the costumes, and that's Memoirs of a Geisha.
Oh,
Geisha.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
I watched it with her that one time in the theater, and I probably won't ever watch it again, but she's seen it maybe 15 times because everything is so pretty, and all the makeup and all the culturalism and whatnot. And that's the kind of stuff my wife is really into. But she talks about the costumes in that movie as though Jesus himself sewed them. So there you go. If you love costumes, I would definitely check that out.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the only reason to watch that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a terrible movie.
Yeah, no, that's not enjoyable.
Yeah. The one that came to my mind when I read this question, surprisingly, was 12 Monkeys.
Oh.
And I was like, why is that movie like stuck in my mind? And I looked it up, and it had got nominated for costume design.
Really?
Is it the futuristic stuff?
One of its 2 Oscar nominations, Brad Pitt and costume design. But like the suit that Bruce Willis is in at the beginning, where he's got the lights inside the little the plastic helmet thing that he's in. And everything, and all the other little things that are in there, just add to that whole set design and just the way 12 Monkeys looks. The costumes go on. Brad Pitt's that black thing that he wears and everything like that. These aren't like a lot of costumes that are going to like stand out as, wow, those are just like Memoirs of a Geisha or Marie Antoinette or whatever. But it's funny. I that's the one that I thought of, and it's that futuristic stuff, and even Bruce Willis's Hawaiian shirt, that he wears at the end of in the finale is like in a museum or something, or some sort of like studio museum, stuff like that. But yeah, 12 Monkeys. I love sci-fi costume design. It's not an area that I particularly really focus on when I'm watching movies. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that's a nice dress or whatever, but hardly ever. But 12 Monkeys popped in my head.
I'll tell you where I noticed it was in La La Land.
Yeah.
Because everybody's immaculately dressed, but especially when in that number where Emma Stone is getting ready to go out on to that first party, and every girl has a different colored dress, and it's very bright.
Yeah.
The opening scene where everybody's in kind of different things. He plays with color really well, and contrasting color, which is really cool.
And that's something he didn't display probably intentionally in Whiplash.
No.
Whiplash has a very narrow color palette.
Yeah.
As an aside, I saw a video yesterday about La La Land. And remember the scene where Gosling's playing in the jazz club and Emma Stone is dancing, and the camera keeps wiping back between them? That was all done in camera. And so the video I saw is shot on a phone, and it shows you the cameraman and Gosling behind him playing, and the director is standing behind the cameraman and just intermittently tapping him on the shoulder. And every time he taps, the cameraman whips around to the other actor, and then he taps him again, and he whips back. And it's just a fascinating way to look at how that was shot and how that DP director relationship worked in that particular setting. I was fascinated by it.
Wow, that's cool. All. I have to watch that.
All right. Well, you got one more, or are we done, or what?
What movie scene seriously haunted you even days after? The example that they give is the scene in The Grudge where the security guard is watching her walk down the hall, the screen goes black, and then changes to eyes staring at him and gives him the creeps. That is a creepy scene.
Yeah.
What are some other ones that haunt you?
It's rare for me to come out of a movie going, I was just haunted by that. But the Blair Witch Project's very final scene always is one of those that it's got just the right amount of mystery and terror, and you know that the fates of these characters, whatever, you just don't know exactly what happened, and that's what haunts you about it.
Yeah.
At the end of the Blair Witch Project, of course, we have Mike down in one area and we have Heather up in another one, and they both have cameras. We see Mike's camera get knocked over. We see the little autofocus do its thing, and then we see Heather running down. She's yelling, Mike, 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 and then she gets down, and Mike is standing in the corner of that house.
Yeah.
And then all we see after that is Heather getting her camera just knocking over, and that's it. And you're like, why the fuck was he in the corner?
Yes, it's the simplest thing.
Yeah, like he was turned around, and like there were a lot of theories afterwards. Like maybe there was some other like Blair Witch bullshit that the directors came up with later or whatever. I don't know if it was ever canon that said the witch liked to turn people. I don't want to hear that. just the fact that he was turned around in the corner is enough for me. Was he dead already? Was he about to die? We don't know. He's just standing in the corner, and the camera just gets knocked over right when your eyes are about to focus on it. That scene is haunting.
Yeah,
good call.
I got one that's almost become a cliche because it's been copied so much, and it's from Paranormal Activity.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of, if you go back and put yourself in when the first time that you saw it and everything, it was a genuinely creepy movie. But that scene when the camera is rolling in the bedroom and Katie Featherston gets up and she literally just walks around to the other side of the bed, and you see the time code speed up to where it's hours and hours, and she's standing there staring at him.
Yeah.
I got fucking chills, man.
Yeah, I bet.
And I mean, there's a lot of subtle scares in that movie. There's a lot of, especially the end, cheap scares.
Yeah.
But that one is genuinely creepy.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah, and you're right. It has been copied a million times since that whole thing. Like, oh my God, they were standing there for hours, mainly by Paranormal Activity itself, whatever. But yeah, you're right. The first time you saw that, you were like, I remember being in the theater and I heard like people go, ooh. Yeah. They were just like stunned that she stood there all that time.
So the moral of the story is that Chris and I are freaked out by people standing.
That's correct.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going back to childhood mostly for this example. When did Last Crusade come out?
89.
89. Mm-hmm. So I was 14. Rapidly aging melting face man.
Oh, yeah.
The guy who chose the wrong challenge.
Yeah.
That was an image that I couldn't shake.
He chose poorly.
I couldn't shake that image for years. Well, it showed up in my dreams.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I believe as a kid, the Raiders of the Lost Ark melting scene is what was maybe my first like nightmare type of scenario, because especially you're seeing it's obviously like wax or whatever the fuck. But it's like it's their face, and then it's like this too white, creamy white, and then it's red blood, and it's like their skull, and like especially on the one guy, the glasses guy, like his glasses fall in that weird like stop motion way or whatever. Yeah. Like when he's screaming, and like the other guys, I think they just explode, but like that dude just like melts, and it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good one.
Well, and I hadn't seen Raiders when I saw Last Crusade was my first Indiana Jones experience. Mm-hmm. And so Yeah, I was a little older when I saw Raiders, or probably would have had the same exact effect.
Yeah,
but I mean, I legitimately had nightmares about that fucking dude.
Well, what enhances the Last Crusade one is that Elsa is like sitting there just screaming at basically what is nothing when she's acting, but like, but she's like just like it's just so like disturbing and everything. It reminds me like in Fight Club when the big beatdown scene happens with Jared Leto. Like they say that like in the commentary they're like, we could have shown it where he's just beating him down and that would whatever, but we think it's more effective that you're just seeing everybody's reactions to it as it's happening, because then you're imagining what's going on. Well, that'll be the SinCast for this week. Please keep going on to SoundCloud and giving us your thoughts.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot more comments lately, so it sounds like people are really wanting to communicate, get their thoughts out, tell us what they like, what they don't like. There's a lot of good stuff that we get from this. A lot of like, here's I'm first-time commenter, this is what I really like. Mm-hmm. And we actually share that. We really like all are viewing that type of thing. So keep it up. Keep it up. Email us if you want to. Tweet us. Go to iTunes. Throw a review. If it happens to be 5 stars, it's 5 stars. I'm just saying, like, go ahead.
You should do that.
Go ahead.
You should give it an extra star.
It's fine.
You had the guy like after this past week or whatever who or I guess a couple weeks ago that. When we were talking about foreign language films, he gave that list of foreign language films.
That was insane. That was great. Thank you.
And it's going to, that's one of the big reasons why I love doing this podcast is those type of comments that come in and they give me some things that I haven't seen or haven't considered or whatever. We had that one comment about the Vivitch.
Yeah.
We had the professor who told us why he liked it, and I was like, I can see, I can get a different appreciation for that movie.
It was a treatise.
Yes, it was. So I enjoy that type of stuff. Anyway, that'll be the SinCast for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Sherrill. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit Cinemasins.com.
I watched that Beware the Slender Man documentary on HBO today. Beware the Slender Man. Remember a couple years ago when those two 14-year-olds took their friend in the woods and stabbed her because they thought Slender Man from the internet was going to kill their families if they didn't? It's a documentary about that.
Wow, no, I've never heard of that.
Oh, man, it's good.
I actually did run across that today, but I was just like, fuck that. And I had never heard anything about it.
It's creepy. It almost ends up being as much about mental health as it does the case or Slender Man himself, because those girls, one of them's schizophrenic and one of them's like disassociative or something.
Really?
Yeah. And then you find out one of their dads was schizophrenic and they never told her, and she was hearing voices since she was 3.
Oh man.
Wow.
Anyway, I found it to be a very gripping documentary. Unsettling topic, but because there's a lot of police interviews the night of the stabbing with each girl, and like one of them's just completely detached. Like,
oh really? Yeah.
I was wondering, could you tell me how many miles we walked after? Because I'm not very athletic. Like,
oh shit,
just not seeing the consequences. Anyway, it was crazy. It was very, very engaging, I must say.
I will now have to watch this.
Not that I've never done mushrooms.
Have you not?
No, that's over the line I won't cross.
Yeah, it's a good line.
Along with shooting up, any kind of needle or snorting is generally out of the question for me.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's true though that most people, when they do stuff like this, don't become addicted, right? I'm not trying to pass that. I don't know how much of this conversation is going to get on the.
Let's encourage folks to try mushrooms,
right? But
no. I mean,
most people who take any kind of drug don't get addicted to it. It's you just have the risk of it possibly happening, and then. As far as shrooms and LSD and all this other type of stuff is concerned, the flashbacks and all that are not like common, right?
No.
That's like but you still run the risk of that happening. That's the thing. That's why it's sort of always deterred me from those type of things. Like, what if I am that one in whatever, how many people, winning the lottery or whatever, losing the lottery, is going to be like that. It's like walking down the street and suddenly gets the acid flashback or whatever.
Remember when they take mushrooms and go to Cirque du Soleil in
Yes.
Knocked Up?
Yes.
Seth Rogen's like, oh!
The mushrooms are turning on me, man.
It's that's the craziest thing to do, possibly, to ingest those type of drugs and then go to Cirque du Soleil. Because even sober, that show makes you think you're crazy.
Yeah.
Stand by.
Fucking Windows 98. Get Bill Gates in here.
But I have gotten through the bukkake section.
No.
Oh, Jesus.
we spend longer than I remember.
All I really remember is that it's the dirtiest and pervious podcast yet, so I'm looking forward to it. And everybody seems to generally hate that movie, so
I'm surprised about that.
Really?
The movie had had an opening weekend that was amazing, and then it just kept going. Like, people were saying good things about it. Like, I didn't hear negative things about it ever. But then when we started doing it, I was surprised when I was taking looks at the IMDb to see who the voices were and everything. I saw the 6.6 and I was like, that's not good. That's not good for a movie like this that, did whatever. I was very surprised about that, because that's a movie that just had a lot of legs.
Yeah.
So was it a hit?
Oh yeah. Huge hit. It's in the top 10 of this year.
Jesus.
Just like Sing will be, probably.
They've already greenlit the sequel to Sing.
I like Kevin Hart, but I didn't like how they used Kevin Hart in this movie,
I like Kevin Hart.
Did you like Ride Along? Oh, you saw Ride Along 2, didn't you?
What? I saw Ride Along 2 and not Ride Along 1. I like Kevin Hart stand-up better than I like him in most of the ways the movies have used him. Like Get Hard.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Secret Life of Pets is 4th in
No
2016.
Shit. So it's Dory.
Rogue One passed it.
Oh, yeah.
Finding Dory. That's one of those things. Rogue One passed it, but it just doesn't feel like that type of a movie.
No, because it went over $1 billion worldwide, right?
Yeah, I think it did. It's over. I think it's over $1 billion. It's 514 domestic.
God damn.
And then it has made just crossed. It's over $1 billion. 14 million. Foreign box office is almost at 500.
If that didn't have Star Wars slapped on it,
oh my God! Can you imagine?
Nothing.
That's like at the end of not the end of, but in The Insider, where Lowell Bergman, Al Pacino, is like talking, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Lowell Bergman from 60 Minutes. You take the 60 minutes out of that sentence, nobody answers your phone call." If you made that movie without any Star Wars, you're talking about a tank job.
Yeah, you'd have people saying like, well, Donnie Yen was awesome, but that's about it.
I got a tank job once.
Oh, yeah?
It was hot.
Yeah?
Oh, baby.
Was his name Thomas?
Oh, Jesus.
That just turned. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Damn. Because when I heard tank, immediately thought Thomas the Tank Engine when you started making it dirty.
Of course you did.
Honey, you want to try a tank job tonight?
Yeah. Have you guys seen Vacation with Ed Helms?
No.
Oh, you should. It's getting to Horrible Bosses 2 territory for me.
Oh, yeah.
In that the moments that I really enjoy, I really, really enjoy. But there's this part in the movie where they're at this like camping grounds, and his son's playing the guitar around the pool or something. And he tries to be a wingman for his son by saying how handsome this young man is. And the girl he's flirting with runs away because this is a creepy old man flirting with a teenage boy. So he sits down and he's like, if you ever want to talk about sex, and he's like, no. And he's like, no, seriously, if you ever have any questions. And eventually the kid says, well, the kids at school were talking about a rim job. So what is that? What's a rim job? And Helms doesn't know. And so he's like, well, I would think that would be when you kiss with your lips closed. It's just the rim of your mouth.
Oh, wow.
And so they, have a touching moment, and he gets up to leave, and he's rubbing his son's back. And behind him, this guy's coming out with a towel to come to the pool. And then Helms goes, and I hope you're not too old to give your dad a good night rim job.
Oh,
and the guy walking up just spins a 180 and walks back to his hotel room.
Oh my God.
That's a funny thing. That vacation movie, I remember it came out and obviously had horrible reviews when it came out. But it was also a movie that did decently enough at the box office that it actually had some sort of legs. Like, it wasn't like ever a big, huge weekend or anything, but it was always stay around the same amount each week. And I think it ended up making $100 million.
Probably. I mean, I remember it getting not good reviews, but when I watched it, I found myself laughing a lot more than I expected.
Okay, so no, it did not make 100. It made 58. It made 100 worldwide. Budget's like 31, but like I remember it just kind of being like it didn't do anything, but it did more than it was expected by the end of it. It was
he rents this weird like Armenian car that can go forward or backwards, like has a front end on both sides of it, and it has this keypad remote with like 60 buttons on it. And he's like, we can do everything with this. His wife goes, is that a swastika? And he goes, we just won't use that button.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of nods to the other one. Deadpoolian nods, basically.
He's Rusty, though, right? He's
playing the son.
He's the son.
Yeah, Chevy Chase is even in it for like a hot minute.
Yeah, I do. Himself. It's funny how they've always addressed. Well, I don't know if they've always. No, they haven't always. They only addressed the continuity in Vegas Vacation, where he wakes up and they're like we're going to take. You kids are getting older. It's yet again a different Audrey and a different Rusty.
Yeah.
Like Ethan Embry is Rusty and everything. And he's like, I don't even recognize you kids anymore. You know?
There's a bit like that in this one where he's trying to convince his family to go to Wally World, like his famous vacation. It's his most favorite vacation. And the kids are like, I don't think I've even ever heard of the original Vacation. And he's like, this one will be better. It's all right. The new Vacation will stand on its own.
Yeah.
That's the most metal Motley Crue has ever been.
Maybe. Is that the band with the guy that wears a kilt? No, that's AC/DC.
No, the kilt is Guns N' Roses.
No, the kilt is the AC/DC guy. That's what I'm thinking.
No, he wears shorts.
Angus?
Yeah, Angus Young.
Are they?
He wears those weird like little
kilt material shorts.
No, I mean maybe at some point they've worn a kilt, but
the point is I don't know shit about this genre of music because I never listened to any of it.
Yeah, Axl Rose went through a period in the Use Your Illusion tour where he was wearing a kilt a lot.
I have a feeling Axl's been through a lot of periods.
He has, because he used to wear like these midriff bearing things and like the mesh, like weird. There was a Green Machine thing from the what was the Longest Yard?
Oh,
and then he did the thing, but then he in that Use Your Illusion tour, which featured Metallica opening for them, by the way, and Faith No More opening for them. And Nirvana was supposed to be the opening band for him. I'm getting derailed, but he comes out like mid-set in these, basically what you would see on like a porn star before she takes her clothes off, like these white shorts that leave nothing to the imagination.
Nice, lovely. Use your cock. Use your illusion of a big cock.
Did you see that show? That actually came through Nashville.
What now?
Guns N' Roses, Faith No More, and Metallica show?
No, I didn't see that.
It was like 91, I guess, 91 or 92.
Yeah, the sad thing is the first time I saw Guns N' Roses was like 5 years ago. And they didn't even have Axl Rose.
Oh, you saw the rest of the band?
No, it was...
Or you saw Axl with the rest...
It was Axl with nobody else.
Yeah,
That's what it was. And then I saw him later with, they got the reunion going and everything. And then the first time I saw Metallica was also similar to that, like 2008, 2009 or whatever. It's like, yeah, okay, I should have seen them in their heyday.
I don't know. I kind of like new Metallica is pretty awesome because they just play the hits. They're just like, fuck it.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have a good experience with my Metallica show. Just because,
was that where you were in that weird spot?
Yeah, man, it was at Bridgestone, and there was something about it, man. I could not hear anything. It sounded nothing like any songs. It was just noise and you was like, okay, I know what song this is, but it still feels like everything's off.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. If you think Mick Jagger is going to be strutting on stage 30 years from now
and trying to be a rock star, you are sadly mistaken.
This forest is old. Very old.
Oh, yeah,
And
I
that's
got you.
Straight from Jeremy and Josh, because they are the ones who brought that up.
This beverage is good. Very good.
And when he started doing when he started doing it in front of me, I suddenly like got into it too. So now, like, anytime there's something like that, I have to say
it's just like how Johnny Depp slowly started turning into the gangsters he was actually trying to apprehend.
Right. Yeah.
It's the same thing. You've spent enough time around somebody, you pick up all their language tics.
You don't understand, man. I am them. It's kind of like when 24, they said Kiefer Sutherland after a while didn't have to keep saying the following takes place between 3 p.m. and they used to have him say each one like for the first 3 seasons or something like that.
Yeah.
And then finally they were like, oh yeah, we don't need it.
I think we should get Kiefer Sutherland to read our NatureBox.
We should.
Oh, that would rule.
Yeah.
I hope he does it like the phone booth guy he
Go to
plays,
NatureBox.
which is basically Jack Bauer.
I
Yeah.
can't do a Kiefer. What's your best Kiefer?
Not a Kiefer.
Kiefer.
Damn it! That's my Kiefer.
Yeah. Tell me where the bombs are now. That's more Harrison Ford, bro. I read something the other day that said that that there were like 76 acts of torture that Jack Bauer
I could see it.
Performed during the duration of the series.
It got so casual by like season 5. We were just like, yeah, all right. I bet he's gonna like rip those lamp wires out and just like attach it to his nipples or something.
Well, that he would be, that he would be a war criminal in real life. Yeah. You were talking about the wires. Like, I keep thinking about how many times during any given day Jack Bauer was like electrocuted or like was in a big huge crash or something, and then the next hour it's like nothing ever happened.
Hanging from a pipe.
Yeah.
He's always hanging from a fucking pipe.
Yeah.